I got you into a Remington party. What's my thanks? It's on the hallway carpet. I got paid in puke. Lick it up, baby. I got paid in puke.
Welcome to Paid in Puke, the podcast where we discuss female-driven films through an inclusive feminist lens, with the help of the 1988 film Heathers. Paid in Puke is hosted by Jessica Baxter, Amy Green, and Christina Barr. It's also a spoiler-filled free-for-all. You've been warned. Welcome to the Paid in Puke 2024 Oscar Special! Yay! Jimmy Kimmel hosts the 96th Academy Awards, broadcasting live on ABC and live TV streaming platforms Sunday, March 10th at 4 p.m. Pacific and 7 p.m. Eastern from the Dolby Theater in Hollywood. I'm Jessica Baxter.
I'm Amy Green.
I'm Christina Barr.
And joining us is, as now the tradition, is our resident Oscars specialist, Denise Rodriguez.
Hello, Denise. Third time's a trend. Right, isn't it? 3 is a trend.
I guess.
3 is a trend.
I've never heard that before.
I think it's like a reporting thing, like if something's news or not. 3 is a trend.
Oh, yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay, that makes sense. So, as in the past, we'll go through the big categories, which include Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor, Actress, Best Supporting Actor, Actress. And this time, we also decided to each pick a category that we would like to discuss. For each category, we will say who we think is missing from the category, who we would like to win the category, and who we predict will win. And so, for branding purposes, I'm calling them Misses, Wishes, and Predic-shes. I'm sticking with it. I don't know. I came up with it with my notes, and I was like, this is happening. Yeah. So, as of this recording, they have yet to announce presenters.
Okay.
It's a bummer because I usually like to talk about that and speculate, but we assume they'll carry on the tradition of having the previous year's Best Actor, Best Actress winners announce those awards, which means Michelle Yeoh and Brendan Fraser.
Right. And they usually do that with supporting, too, right?
Do they?
I feel like they do, yeah.
So that would be, I know Jamie Lee Curtis is one, and the other is...
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I would love that.
I meant to listen to our last year's podcast just to remember how close we were. And I can't remember that much. We were all certain it was going to be Jamie Lee Curtis, and it definitely, obviously was. It definitely was.
It definitely was. It was definitely someone.
I know it was someone. So, what do you want to start at the big categories? We can start any of the biggies.
Why don't we start with Best Actor since it's at the top of this page that I'm looking at.
Okay.
Cool. That's also the top paper on my little note stack.
Check it out.
Best Actor in a Leading Role. Bradley Cooper, Maestro.
She's doing a jerk-off motion now.
In my heart.
It's implied. As one does.
We're gonna editorialize.
Coleman Domingo, Rustin. Paul Giamatti, The Holdovers. Cillian Murphy, Oppenheimer. Jeffrey Wright, American Fiction. Okay, we can talk normally now.
I never knew that it was Cillian Murphy. I always thought it was Cillian Murphy.
Oh, no. That's like, it's really...
There's a Murphy head over here.
And also an Irish names pronunciation head.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
It is kind of funny how every traditional Irish name is pronounced the way that you would never guess.
Right.
Every single time. It's tradition. So, who wants to start with who they think is missing? The misses.
Okay, Andrew Scott from All of Us Strangers, I thought was a big miss for a lot of categories. For all the acting categories.
All of Us Strangers is really got done dirty.
Yeah,
right.
It's completely unrepresented, right? I think there's nothing.
Yeah.
They didn't get
And
anything.
It was incredible, that movie.
Yeah.
I meant to go see it this weekend, and then I didn't because I was like, I know that was one of the snubs. I have to see it so I can talk about it. So I'm glad you guys all have that covered.
Well, you should absolutely see it anyway. It's just such a beautiful movie.
Yeah, it was great.
I'm excited to see that one.
And I knew Andrew Scott was good, but, I mean, he blew me away.
Yeah, I don't know him at all. What's he from?
I guess I first saw him in the Sherlock, BBC Sherlock with Benedict Cumberbatch. And he was Moriarty, so he was like a completely different vibe there. And then he's most famous perhaps for being the hot priest on Fleabag.
Oh, right! That's where I recognized him.
I'm writing notes, and now I have a note that says hot priest Fleabag.
That's always a good note. He's very delightful in that.
I like that you believe in a meaningless existence. And you're good for me. You make me question my faith.
And?
I've never felt closer to God.
Fuck you.
What was that? It wasn't a fox, was it?
I don't know.
Is it a fox? Shine something. Boo! Bah! Oh, God, I bet it's a fox.
Oh, God.
No, I'm not being funny. Foxes have been after me for years. It's like they have a pact or something. I'm not kidding. I was on a toilet of a train, and when the train stopped, a fucking fox tried to get through the window of a train. Its face was in the window. And once, when I was at a monastery, I woke up just feeling a bit weird, like there might be a fox about, and a fox was sitting underneath my window, looking at me like this, pointing at me like, you. We're watching you. We're having you.
I think that in the script he wasn't meant to be quite as charming as he ended up being. They kind of wrote more for him to do. I always love it when that happens. They're like, oh, this person is so great, let's try to keep them around as long as possible.
So, can we talk about Leo?
Yeah.
Because, first of all, I have a thing about being snubbed. Like, just because you didn't get picked doesn't mean you were snubbed. There were lots of great performances, and there can only be 5, so maybe you just were number 6, you know?
That's why I changed the verbiage.
I love it. Thank you for doing that.
It just got too lost in the weeds about the pedantry of what a snub is.
Right.
Oh, anyway, go on.
I mean, I thought he was really amazing in Killers of the Flower Moon, and oftentimes when I see him in a film, I see Leo the whole time. I did not see Leo, and so maybe that's a low bar. Maybe it's like, because I didn't realize, I didn't see him.
You don't know the kid could act.
Yeah. I could see him on this list. It wouldn't have surprised me if he'd been there.
Yeah.
And I think he was kind of expected to be on the list.
I mean, I would definitely put him there instead of Bradley Cooper.
Oh, God.
We were talking about, which pretty white boy needs to be there.
Did you watch Maestro?
It was...
I didn't, and I don't think I need to.
This is the category I have seen the least of. I've only seen American fiction.
Which was so good. I'm saving my comments on Maestro until we get to the Best Picture.
Okay.
But I have opinions.
It was a vanity project for sure. I like Bradley Cooper, but he's just that guy that gets to do everything all the time. I don't know.
I think I would have liked him if he stuck with comedy. He came from like Wet Hot American Summer and Stella, and now he's like this Oscar bait biopic guy. I'm like, barf.
I'm not generally a fan of a biopic.
He's
Aren't they,
definitely
like, always
disappeared
bad?
up his own beautiful ass.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think the film was just kind of meh.
And like
For
3
me.
of these are biopics.
Yeah, okay. This is my opinion about nominations for Best Acting for a biopic. I think it's very lazy voting. I think it is much easier to assess a performance when you have something to compare it to. Like, this person acted just like Julia Child, therefore they should be nominated. Or I think that's lazy, and I think it's far more challenging to take a character off of the page and turn it into something that is a believable character. Yeah. To me, that seems more artistically challenging and should be rewarded. And I get
it's not
really
interesting.
irritated.
Like, oh, he imitated Johnny Cash for 2 hours, you know?
Right.
Like,
so boring.
It's pretty rare when you actually see them transcend what you would expect or what you know about the character. Like, the one that comes to mind is I, Tonya.
Yeah.
As one that really worked.
Yeah.
But it's so rare.
Or like a character that you don't know anything about, where it's like there's maybe
It's
not
just...
that much historical information about them. Or you can kind of play with that part and do what you want.
Like Judas and the Black Messiah and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's like some under-celebrated or under-storied.
Yeah, and the movie was basically about the wife. I mean, they had such a complicated relationship. It was just such a weird story. Like, it wasn't about his work. It was, like, about the marriage and the Carey Mulligan character doing all of the sacrificing, this whole process of her dying. I don't know what he was trying to do with that. Like, he had the family, the Leonard Bernstein estate signed off on it, and there were some parts where he just kind of, like, went off the rails. And what the... I don't know.
Do be more
just
specific,
like,
please. I need to know.
Well, like... I just see him as like Bradley Cooper doing a bit or something. He's telling his friends, it's like a baby or something, but it's just a really weird scene where he's like, I've slept with both of your parents. And then there's another part where they the Philharmonic practices in the summers or whatever, and that's where he would have affairs with like younger men primarily. And it's just like a random scene where it looks like he's in the club, but it's like Maestro Unchained or something. Like he's like wasted and old and dancing with this like student guy to like Tears for Fears shout, and it's like a very weird club scene. I don't know, I was just like, what is the...
I don't know. If I see that, it'll make me angry because I'll just think about the club scene and all the strangers and how perfectly done that was.
Yeah.
And the
my
movie's
biggest problem
boring.
with Bradley is that you can see the acting. You can really see the
Totally.
seams in what he's doing. He never disappears. And I feel like that's why he did the nose. He was like,
God,
I'll
the
disappear to
fucking
the role.
nose.
And it's like, you can't.
Right.
You're not capable of that.
And if that went
That's
makeup,
what
like
is
that's
supposed-
gonna be
I'm
terrible
so
because
pissed.
like the fat makeup person or whatever.
Yes.
They
that
wanted
won
a word
last
for it,
time.
yeah.
First of all, Leonard Bernstein's nose is not that big.
Right.
And also, Bradley Cooper's nose is not that small.
Right.
Really. If
I
he
saw the
could
side-by-side comparison.
just do some acting and that would really cover it, I feel like.
Yeah.
You know?
Elephant Man weird face acting.
So irritated. I thought the film was really mostly very boring up until his wife gets cancer. That's actually when it got to be like, there's some stakes involved now. I care about something happening. The rest of the time it was really boring. And I thought they missed a lot of opportunity because Leonard Bernstein was actually quite an activist and they didn't talk about any of that. He was active on civil rights, on HIV/AIDS research and funding, Vietnam War protests. They never talk about any of that. So they just made him look like sort of a cad, like a talented cad, using my position of power to sleep with young male students behind my wife's back.
And his dutiful wife who let it happen because he's a genius and
Yes.
stayed with him or whatever because he needed that.
Yeah, her role kind of pissed me off too. Like I was like, oh, another long-suffering wife gonna get nominated for Best Supporting Actress. But then she did a really good job with the dying part.
She was amazing.
She's
in
a
it.
terrific actor. But yeah, she's a terrific actor, but she is frequently in movies where I'm like, I'm not seeing that.
Yeah, she deserves better.
I mean, a lot of the movie, it felt like an actor's studio experiment or something. Like, he takes her on a first date and, like, she takes him to a theater. Then they, like, act out a scene with each other. He's just, like, one of those inside the actor's studio.
Yeah,
Literally.
person.
Yeah, literally. And, you know, because he can. Like, he had Spielberg behind it, I think. He had, like, all of these names, like...
Producing.
Yeah. I mean, he took his swing. Because he could, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, also, he is lobbying hard. Like, if you read any of the,
really?
like, the Hollywood reporting, like, he is pushing really hard. He
man.
really wanted the director nod, was what he really, really wanted. People were like, he's Anne Hathawaying himself. I just thought that was really sad. Too earnest, wants it too much, now we hate you. Kind of like is a little bit what
I didn't
happened
get
with
that
her.
comparison because I really like Anne Hathaway.
I know, me too. But people kind of gave her this vibe, like, you just want it too bad, so now you're not cool anymore. But
I never even saw. I'm like, what are you looking at that says that to you? She
How
did
dare
a
you be
job,
good.
And she was good at
But
it.
they do like campaigning like in Hollywood. Though.
Yeah.
Like if you live in LA during this time, there's like billboards and ads on buses and stuff.
And they saw that too much.
I guess.
maybe.
Sometimes it's not even them.
It's not
like
this.
their
Right, it's the
publicist.
studio or something.
True.
Yeah, gotta go to all the lunches or the
Right.
whatever.
So the movie kind of like meandered and it didn't feel like it had a point. I don't know. It was just boring. I didn't like it.
Yeah, I'm definitely not gonna see that.
So that's Bradley Cooper.
I know.
At this rate, we'll be here for a
I
week.
know, right?
Did anyone see Coleman Domingo and Rustin?
Oh my god.
Okay.
So good.
Oh yeah.
I went into it like, okay, it's executive produced by the Obamas. It's about civil rights hero. Maybe it's going to be a little overly earnest kind of after school special vibe. And then I completely enjoyed it and I thought he was amazing. And he is actually my pick of who I would want to win.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
That's
it was
cool.
so good. I had never heard of Bayard Rustin before, but he is the person who took the lead on organizing the March on Washington, where MLK gave his big famous speech.
Cool.
But because he's gay, they used that against him to try and undermine the entire civil rights movement, to try and undermine the march. And then he kind of had to like step out from getting any accolades in order to like keep his gayness from tarnishing things. And so that's why you don't hear very much about him when people talk about the civil rights movement. I thought it was just really cool to learn about him, and Coleman Domingo was, I would say, a revelation. I really loved it.
Wow.
And that's like what you were talking about before. I want a biopic to teach me something.
Yeah. Maybe if I knew
Yeah.
all there was to know about that person,
Yeah.
I would have been, God, another biopic, but I didn't
Here's
really know
that
anything
scene
about
we all
him.
expected.
Right. It was like, oh my gosh, really? Like this happened? You know,
Yeah.
like going to Wikipedia, I'm like, sure enough, you know? Yeah, it was really cool, and I really liked him in that role. He was really great.
Cool. Oh, did you say who your misses were, Denise?
I think I'm not surprised by seeing Coleman Domingo there because I saw the movie and thought he was so great, but I don't think he was necessarily high on everyone's list. Like, are you guys surprised to see it there?
I
Were
was
you like,
I hadn't
I've never heard
heard
of
of
it
it
until
nominations.
Yeah.
So.
But you're making me want to see it. It sounds good.
It was good.
Yeah.
And I think it's on Netflix.
It's on
so
Netflix, yeah.
no cost, all benefit.
I do feel like the nominated movies have been a lot more accessible than in past years. 5 years ago, it was just impossible to see anything outside the theater.
Was that like, oh, you mean available to see?
Right,
Not
yeah.
accessible, like I enjoyed watching it.
Right.
No, yeah.
That's all
But that too, there was a couple of years where it's like everything has to be so dreary.
Or like All Quiet on the Western Front.
Oh my god.
Oh my
right?
god,
Wow.
yeah.
Still scarred.
I might be the only one here who didn't see The Holdovers, but I, in general, tend to like Paul Giamatti. I have a soft spot for him because his dad used to be the baseball commissioner. But I didn't see it, but I have no grudge against him if he wouldn't. Mm-hmm. Everybody else saw it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
loved
did. He's like my wish for
Yeah,
who
okay.
would win. I've always really liked him and his role in The Holdovers. It was really good. It's kind of a schmaltzy story, I would say. He's just this really unappreciated teacher at this like prep school with all these rich asshole kids, and I just liked his character. Like, he was just totally unappreciated by society, basically, and it was a good story with the kid. I thought the kid from it should have been nominated.
I wouldn't have been surprised. There was some talk about that
Yeah.
he would have deserved it if he'd gotten that supporting actor nom. Did you see the news about best casting being a category
Yeah, I
that they're
We saw it
gonna?
from you, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So The Holdovers was one that I was thinking, like, if it's kind of about an ensemble cast that did a
Right.
great job, I would totally see The Holdovers being a contender for that.
Yeah.
Everyone was great. But yeah, he was really good in that movie. And the whole movie had like a 70s vibe. Like, I think it was taking place in the early 70s.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
definitely looked
It looked like it.
And it
like
looked,
it was from the era.
yeah, I enjoyed it, and I thought he was great, and I would not be mad if he won. I'd be mad if Bradley Cooper won.
yeah.
Yeah,
But that's the only one.
That's the worst choice. I don't think he will.
Yeah, and I love Jeffrey Wright. I didn't really love American Fiction that much. And Cillian Murphy, again, I didn't see Oppenheimer, but he's good. Anything would be fine as long as it's not B-Coop.
Yeah.
I think this is like kind of a weak category.
B-Coop.
It is.
Yeah.
That's cute.
I know. I don't want to say his full name because that's what he wants the most. Just say Bradley Cooper. So let's give him a nickname.
My prediction is Cillian Murphy is going to win.
Mine
it.
too.
Yeah.
Same,
Mine
mine
too.
too.
I feel like Oppenheimer's gonna not sweep necessarily, but win a bunch.
Dominate.
Yeah.
I'm like 50% annoyed about that. I personally think that if Barbie had not come out the same weekend as Oppenheimer, I don't think Oppenheimer would have gotten as much attention as it did.
I completely.
I think it got a Barbie boost.
I see
Oh,
that.
I think it's taking a
definitely.
Barbie boost. Yes, I mean Nolan always has a lot of buzz around him,
Yeah.
no matter what. But I do think that it helped. A lot of people went to see it in the theater. At least it helped the box office for sure, because that became a whole thing.
I totally see that. I agree with you. And I didn't see Oppenheimer. I'm sure it's fine. It's just not something that I would say. I don't really like Chris Nolan, whatever. It wasn't made for me. But I feel like the whole Barbenheimer thing was overall like really good for movies and for people who like
Yeah.
to go to movies. Okay, yeah, people will go and see a movie that's like original, that's not part of a franchise, that's not a superhero movie. You know, like I think the whole thing was overall a benefit to people like us who want to go see movies in the theater.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was so fun.
I think.
I had such a good time that weekend. Everywhere I went, it was like, hi
Right.
Barbie, hi Barbie.
Right.
love
And there's
that.
all the memes about it too, like how Oppenheimer is a movie they make for like when you go shopping and they have to entertain your boyfriend.
It was a really fun time on
Right.
social media for that.
I just
Yeah.
saw someone the other day wearing that shirt that Brugos has where it's the quote from
Oh.
Oppenheimer in the Barbie pod. Like,
Well, and his whole Halloween costume,
Yeah.
the Barbenheimer
Yeah, that
Halloween
was
costume was
great.
brilliant.
I love people saying what they would see first
Yes.
in the same weekend.
Yeah, the whole talk about what order, and then some people
Yeah.
saying like Barbie, Oppenheimer, Barbie. And then, like, yeah,
I think
it was so fun.
they came out with one of those maps where it was like state by state. Which
one
movie
was?
had the better, first opening weekend.
And then, I mean, let's Greta Gerwig broke like every record,
Yeah.
which is kind of amazing.
Oh yeah, I think we have more to say about
Yeah.
that when we get the
We'll
director
get to that.
category.
Yeah.
The thing that was significant to me about Barbenheimer, like post-pandemic, I really missed going to the movies, being in a movie. And I met so many people who were like, I didn't miss that at all. I realized I never missed it. And I was like, I can't relate to you at all.
Yeah.
And then I think that turned the tide.
Yeah, it did. It saved Hollywood. Let's like seriously
It did.
I
Yeah.
don't think it's an exaggeration.
We need to give Barbie its flowers.
I
Right?
saw it multiple times. I remember I wore my Barbie shirt too.
Yeah.
And then I saw it another time and these young women like dressed up for
Yeah.
it and like that was just so fun. I had missed like a zeitgeisty moment.
It's a moment. It is the
Yeah.
moment.
I honestly feel like it's still a moment. Like Barbie has had this huge, in particular Barbie,
I mean,
of
it's
the
definitely still in
Barbenheimer
the
phenomenon.
conversation with the
Yes.
nominees. So.
Totally.
So yeah, Jeffrey Wright. I liked American Fiction, not as much as I thought I would, but I guess he was my wish. Just because,
Yeah, I
like,
love him.
even though I love Cillian Murphy too, I guess what you had for American Fiction, I had for Oppenheimer, where I really like Cillian Murphy, but I was completely underwhelmed by Oppenheimer. And like I've seen him be so much better in better movies.
So I watched the first half of Oppenheimer. There was a lot of that cutting back and forth between we're scientists and we're doing a thing and now we're building the bomb. I really liked those parts of the movie. Then they switched to the scenes where it's the hearings and like the interrogation kind of, and I did not like those parts. And so they started to switch to that right around the hour and a half mark. There was like a thing that happened with Robert Downey Jr. Then by 10 minutes later, I was like, God, I'm kind of bored now. And I paused the movie and thought, I'll come back and watch more later. And then I didn't get to it before my 48 hours ran out on my streaming.
no.
And so then I was like, God, I'm not paying another $20 to watch this. But then literally last night, it was like, it's only $5.99 now. So I watched the second half. I actually liked it a lot better this second sitting than I did the
Interesting.
first time.
Your breather.
I was kind of like, okay, actually, I liked this more. And I can see why he's nominated. He does play somebody who evolves over a long period of time, and he's like much younger in the beginning and older in the end. But for American Fiction, I thought Jeffrey Wright was great, but he wasn't what excited me about that movie.
Yeah.
He was the solid sort of like holding it down main character, but his brother was the one that was like...
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that in
That's-
another
Yeah,
category. But
definitely. Yeah. The surprise for me there was that it wasn't really about the world of fiction as much as it was about like just a family drama. But
yeah.
so I was kind of wondering if it was like they thought that a black family drama that wasn't like the kind of stories that they make fun of in that movie, no one was going to see it. So it's almost like a meta irony going on there.
There was a meta irony.
Yeah,
That
like they
movie-
marketed just about publishing. I thought the family drama stuff was like not interesting. That's why I was like disappointed in. It was just not something I would have wanted to see.
I thought it gave the film heart. The film also made me really think about, as consumers of media, what kind of stories are we told about Black families
Yeah.
and Black experience? And especially now that there's obviously a lot of dialogue about wanting to see more Black stories, but what kinds of Black stories do we get to
Right.
see? It honestly gave me a lens to look at some of the other movies too. Like, I think that's why I liked it, was that now I'm sort of applying this perspective to other movies too. Like, what kind of movies do we consume about Native Americans? What stories do we get told? And do we only ever see stories where people are suffering or pain, or we're not seeing like a diversity of stories?
Diverse stories are available, but the ones that are really championed are the stereotypes.
Right.
Yep.
Wait, Amy, did you say who you
Oh,
wanted to win?
Who I want to win is really anyone but Bradley Cooper.
Yeah, that's a very good answer.
Yeah.
Well, I love Jeffrey Wright. I thought he was fine in that movie, though. And Paul Giamatti, because I really enjoy him.
He deserves your support.
Yeah.
Remember his tiny role in Singles?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
What?
There's just no privacy anymore.
I do also want to say that I totally would have been shocked to see Barry Keoghan there, but I really liked him, and I thought he would be deserving of a nomination, even though it wouldn't happen in a snowball's chance in hell. That's not what they're looking for.
I agree. I would be happy to see him here on this list instead of B-Coop.
He's very good, Barry, and he's got a lot more good roles in him too. So young. Just the Bradley is like, you could have put so many different people in there than you did. Why did you put that there? It's very obvious who you would swap out.
I guess like another thing about Paul Giamatti, it would be so great for him to win like this leading actor role.
He's such a
He's
character
forever.
actor, right? Yeah.
He's a character actor, and what exactly does character actor mean? It just seems like somebody that is like faceless or like...
A lot of it implies you don't play a leading role. You play like the less glamorous roles that are meatier, but they are almost never the lead. That is kind of a rare opportunity for him.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think that would be cool.
Has he won before?
No, I think he might have been nominated for
Sideways.
Yeah.
Looks like he was nominated for Cinderella Man in 2006. What year was Sideways? I don't even see that listed here.
Sideways, I think, was a long time ago.
Maybe he wasn't nominated for Sideways. He was nominated for stuff.
Maybe it was just Thomas Hayden Church was nominated.
Oh, God. I remember
I did not like
going
Sideways.
crazy for him. I didn't like it.
It looks like he won the Critics' Choice Award this year.
Oh, this year.
So that's nice for him. That's kind of the only mean one that I see.
Well, I haven't seen all Alexander Payne movies, but it seems like his leading male characters are all kind of like shady or they're duplicitous, and this character was not that. Not that that makes it like worthy of awards or anything, but I thought that was interesting. Like,
It's a different kind
he
of
was a very
story.
redeemable character. In other Alexander Payne, I don't think the men are necessarily redeemable.
He also won the Golden Globe this year
Oh.
for Best Performance by a Male Actor in a Motion Picture, Musical, or Comedy.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I feel like they tend to get
split
it a lot more right than the Oscars.
Yeah. So it's not like he's like a complete long shot. It could happen.
It could happen. All right, let's go to Best Actress. Since we're already there.
Oh,
Okay.
Denise excited for
Best Actress in a Leading Role. The nominees are Annette Bening, Naiad, Lily Gladstone, Killers of the Flower Moon, Sandra Hüller, Anatomy of a Fall, Carey Mulligan, Maestro, Emma Stone, Poor Things. Christine and I were talking off pod that a big miss here for us was Greta Lee from Past Lives.
Same.
That's what I have written down,
That
too.
is, to me, the crime of the season. Like, everyone's up in arms about Margot, but for me, it was Greta Lee.
Yeah,
was the crime of
absolutely.
this year.
That's
Yeah.
the Greta who got robbed.
Exactly. Yeah, different
That's
Greta. But also Margot Robbie on the list of sort of the top likely with the odds or whatever. She was, I think, 5th.
I mean, I was surprised.
I was
that
surprised.
She
Yeah,
wasn't,
me
you
too.
know.
Yeah, I was too, but the Oscars doesn't generally like giving comedies that many awards. Barbie to me was like mainly
Totally.
a comedy.
You're right. They definitely think lesser of comedies in general.
For sure.
Right. And I'm sorry, but like nobody saw Naiad.
I
that's
saw
just, like-
Naiad.
Well, okay, but I
Did you
mean,
see it before the Oscar nominations?
before the Oscars.
No.
Right, that's what I'm talking
Yeah.
about. You saw it because you watch all the Oscars.
Yeah.
things, but there has to be some old Hollywood royalty married to Warren Beatty. It's
Right.
like, okay.
She was really
here's
great.
one. Sure she
But-
was, but I'm
yeah.
just like, was she better than Greta?
Was she
Lee?
the
No,
best?
so that's my thing. I'm like, she
That's
was
right.
good, but
We're talking best here.
Yeah, I was really surprised reading the nomination. I was like,
Yeah.
Naiad for Jodie and...
yeah, that was surprising to me, honestly.
That was the elder statesperson of Hollywood.
Yeah.
And
Really?
the playing a real person, so we can compare it to
Right,
something. You know,
right,
so people can be
right.
like, look at all this video of Diana Naiad. She's like the real thing.
She did it exactly right.
I
Yeah.
feel like this one is like a pretty strong category.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure she's fine in this, but it's the kind of thing where it's like, because you're one of us, you know.
Right.
Like,
Yeah. It was more like a nomination for her life's work and not that particular role.
Which really drives me nuts when they do that
Right,
sort
I
of
hate
thing,
that.
and
They do it all
and
the
they're
time.
Well,
leaving out someone
yeah.
who
I
really
say, yeah.
killed
Right.
the role.
Right. Who's Greta Lee? She's like an outsider. You
Yeah.
know?
There were a lot of women-centered stories this year. In
Yes.
general, I really noticed when I was watching the films. So I think there was just a lot of opportunity for a lot of actresses this year, and there were some really great performances.
Right. Even though, like, I feel like Greta Lee is a big miss, but I don't think anyone was better than Emma Stone in Poor Things. I thought that was like such a standout killer performance.
Yeah.
She is
Transcendent.
my pick for sure. Right.
She's your pick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sort of torn between Lily and Emma. Before I saw Poor Things, I was like 100% Team Lily. And then, of course, when she won the Golden Globe, like if our entire Oscars broadcast were just her giving a speech, I would be here for it. So I kind of want her to win for a lot of reasons. Also, Montlake Terrace, hometown
She's a
Oh,
hometown.
yeah.
lady. But yeah, the role that Emma Stone played was like a intense role, like a complicated role. She, was like
Very physical, which I
physical.
love.
I thought it was a really challenging role, and she completely nailed it.
Very funny and
like a lot of range.
I loved that movie.
Yeah.
And I loved her in it. I mean, I loved that movie. I loved pretty much everything about that movie, and still I thought she was the best thing about that movie.
She was.
Yeah. You can't compare it to anything. You cannot compare that role to anything else you've ever seen.
Well, she's literally playing a person who's going from infant to adulthood. In an adult body. And like all those ranges.
There's so
and
many ways where that could be a disaster.
Right.
So silly and everything.
Right.
There were some parts that didn't work for me. Like,
really?
Well,
like in the movie overall.
No,
or in
not
her
Emma.
role?
I mean, Emma's amazing. Emma fucking Stone. I mean, I saw that. Like, I've never seen her in anything like that before. There were some parts, like, with the sexuality of the character. Like, in the beginning, she has the brain of a fetus. And then the lawyer guy comes up and she's, like, blowing bubbles. And then he, like, molests her. And then she goes off with him. And she's, like, jerking off all day. And she's just learning how to walk and not pee on the floor. I really loved that part where she's gotten to the whorehouse, learning what works for her and becoming more independent. With the beginning of it, I was like, it was a little iffy for me.
Gray area stuff, but the reason that worked for me is because babies do kind of start jerking off really early. Like,
that is true.
Well, yeah, the lawyer takes her off on the trip. Like, that part I felt like...
I mean,
well, he's not a moral person.
Right.
Yeah,
it was icky.
I think
it was icky.
Feel a little icky.
Yeah.
I felt a little icky, that's all.
I feel like you can't take it as a thing that is real. To assign, like, real world values. This isn't something that would really happen. Like, I think you have to take it in the world that it's in. You know, and I think they have some hand waving of it. She's accelerating rapidly, you know, and...
I thought that was one of the interesting things about the movie to me. Like, there was a lot of really interesting stuff in that movie. In fact, one of my notes says, this should be its own Paid and Puke episode.
Because
like, there's really a lot in it.
Yes.
So are you using her physical age to assess when she's old enough to be sexual, or her mental age? Like, is it how old her brain is or her body? And those two things don't match, and it's like supposed to make you uncomfortable. You know, I think
But
it's
also
like,
when you think about like why we have those ages, it's because of men.
Right.
We only have age of consent because men will try it as early as possible.
Right.
I think that's like,
And
a
it
big part
depends
of
on
it.
what country you're in, too.
Yeah.
I mean, age of consent is very
absolutely.
different around the world.
Well, it's also about, like, what would your sexuality be if it just developed totally naturally?
Exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
that, like,
That
she
was
has,
just
like, no shame at all. Like, that's something
I
that's
liked
like,
that part
that's
of
what
it.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's, like, beautiful, you know, like,
Yeah.
even when she's talking to Mark Ruffalo about how she let the guy, like, lick her thighs, and she's like, what? You know? Or the first time that she is a prostitute, and she's like, I had sex with this guy, and I got some money, and I bought you an eclair.
Yeah.
And now you're going to tell me this is bad for some reason? You know?
I loved that part of the film.
Right, yeah.
That was one of the things that was like, this is
Yes,
just
and
there's
all
this
the
is like-
different experiences where she's like, it was brutal, but in a strangely not unpleasant way. The first time when she's like at the kitchen table and like, oh wow, this feels amazing, you got to try this, you know.
Right.
If you were a clean slate and nobody was telling you like what to feel about it, how different would your approach to sexuality be? I mean, I thought that was just gorgeous.
And it's
Yes,
absolutely
one
a
of my favorite
testament to
things.
her performance that it's so believable. Because when you write it down, it is like a ridiculous sort of premise, but the way they did it is so profound.
Yeah, I was all about the no shame. Like, that was kind of like a reason why I wanted to see it, because I had read about that.
Right,
before.
like I get what you're saying, but I feel like if you put it in our own terms of like, okay, she's mentally the age of a 2-year-old, that's fucked up. I feel like you have to take it on their terms, you know, because it's like, well, this isn't real world. This obviously is not a real thing that could happen.
Yeah.
So like, be with us in it.
Yeah.
The first 30 minutes of the movie with all the fisheye lens and the learning to walk black and white, like I could have done without all of that. I wanted just like the other
love
part.
that.
I don't know.
I love when she's like, Bella cut too. And she's
Like, you have
just
your
the dead
play corpse.
ones. Just the dead ones for Bella.
I think like that's one of the signs of effective art, you know, or like what
Absolutely.
makes art good is it invites conversation and opinion, and you can have different perspectives and experiences with it. It was really high quality art.
The other thing I think they kind of glossed over, like the madam says something like, sometimes they want you to not want it. And like that's really the only time that was ever brought up in the movie, I felt like.
I don't know, when she goes back with the captain, like the husband of the person that she was, I think that's, there are men in your life who don't care about your feelings or happiness.
She's like, fuck that. Get out of here.
I mean,
he literally tries to cut off her clitoris.
I was gonna say, like,
I feel
that's
like
the ultimate expression of like
control.
he wants her to not want it.
Right.
And that's like just another part of the whole story of her growing without shame. Even though I think in the beginning it seemed like God had a lot of control over her. Just honestly, the fact that she calls him God.
Right.
Took me a really long time to realize his name was Godfrey. And then that he's like, yeah, okay, you could go. Because like, I guess he's not really trying to like constrain her or control her. He's just like, go do your thing. And then now after this whole like growing up sort of that she comes to her own power, now she's confronted with a guy that actually does want to control her. And she's like, no way.
Right.
I had totally forgotten about that guy from Girls.
I think that was also part of why God wanted to keep her in, was because she was this actual other person.
Yeah.
You know, like the scene where she wants to get an ice cream and they're in the coach, and I thought that was that he literally didn't want her to be seen by the outside world, because then it'd be like, some trouble. what happened here, right?
Yeah.
And then I also thought it was interesting that he's a unique parent, because the way he was raised, like he was raised with absolutely no love at all, just science.
Right.
But he has love, but he doesn't even know how to name it because he never received it until Bella. So like he's also on a journey of discovery. So that's like parenting in a vacuum also. Like how do you become a parent when you didn't have a parent effectively?
Wow, a lot of people live that. That's a reality for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I feel like there was a lot in this film that would resonate for people.
Yeah.
Like
It's
just different
brilliant.
experiences.
It was
It's
my
really
favorite
great.
movie of last year.
So I have Emma as
we'll
my
have a whole
pick.
episode about it.
I know. I have Emma as my pick, even though I
Yeah.
really think very highly of Lily Gladstone and would be completely thrilled for her if she won.
I think it's
Same.
probably neck and neck for them, but like
Yeah, I think-
my pick is Emma, and I think she's gonna end up taking it.
My pick is Lily. I really liked her in the movie. She really like held that whole movie.
She was the
Together.
best part,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Like, it would not have worked at all without her.
There were so many scenes where she was just able to convey all of this pain. There's a scene where she's in the church and the minister's like, who do you think is trying to hurt you? It's just like a really good scene, like where she's conveying so much. I mean, she's just so effective. I just really liked her in the movie. I thought she was the best thing about that movie. But yeah, I mean, I loved Emma Stone too.
They didn't give Lily a lot to say or do, and she still managed to steal the show, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's a testament to her ability to perform and what she could do in a movie that actually served her well.
Yeah.
My biggest issue with that movie was that it was kind of guilty of the crimes of the movie in a way, that we presented these stories the way we wanted to. We glossed over a lot of stuff. She has one scene with her sisters before they start getting murdered. Like one scene where they're happy. I don't know anything about these women. Let us see them thrive. Why does there have to be only one person we follow and she represents the whole community? Like, it's supposed to be about them. It's not supposed to be about the evil white men, but it ended up being about them.
I mean, the source material is from the perspective of the FBI agent, so it's like
Yeah,
that
I mean,
isn't
I guess
even really
that's-
like in it. It's kind of really
Yeah,
bringing
I
a
guess
lot
would be
more
my
of
issue
that
with
story.
That book as well. I wouldn't choose to read a book like that. Yeah, she was so good, and I would be very happy if she won. But Emma was my favorite for sure.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel.
I've become like such a huge Emma Stone fan this last year between Poor Things and the Curse.
Yeah.
She's incredible.
great in that,
Like she's
yeah.
just such an interesting and dynamic performer.
Yeah, she's great.
I guess like she's in a power position finally to be able to do these things. I'm sure she's wanted to do this stuff all along and hasn't been offered anything interesting. But yeah, so cool. Best actress, done. Do you want to take a break from actors and do director, or should we plow forward on the actors?
I don't care either way.
I'm happy with the
good with
actor
that.
category because I want to talk about Willem Dafoe.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's so strong. I can literally
Yeah.
think of 5 people that could also be in there. There's only
Yeah.
one person I would take out.
You know, I have like a
read the notes.
page
Yes,
of notes.
I
I like have so much
there's
to notes on
many.
This is like, for some reason, this crazy category this year.
Yeah. Okay, so best actor in a supporting role: Sterling K. Brown, American Fiction; Robert De Niro, Killers of the Flower Moon. Robert Downey Jr., Oppenheimer. There's that jerk-off motion again.
I refrain from saying boo, but I hate him.
Yes. Ryan Gosling, Barbie, and Mark Ruffalo, Poor Things.
God, so fucking
Yeah.
good. Of all of these, the only one I didn't see is Oppenheimer, and I hate Robert Downey Jr. Like, I feel his style is very like, I am one of the great ones.
And it came through. It's just like
I'm
with Bradley Cooper, where you can see what he's trying to do, and you can see the ego, and it's just so unpleasant to watch.
Yeah, I hate him.
I did not realize it was Robert Downey Jr. until...
Oh, really?
Remember earlier when I was saying that there was this thing that sort of like took me out of it at about the hour and 30-minute mark. I did not realize it was Robert Downey Jr. until there was a scene where they're sort of all sitting around the table and they're talking, and it's one of the black and white scenes. They have like a close-up on his face, and he does this like facial tick. And I was like, oh my God, it's Robert Downey Jr. Because I feel like he does that in every role, and I literally realized it was him. Totally took me out of it, and it was really hard for me to like not see him after that. I see why he got nominated, because I think he's sort of playing a deeper role. I don't know, I just think of him as like Weird Science jerk guy. Wasn't he in that movie? He was Weird Science or one of those.
He's Iron Man.
Valley Girl.
I feel like you just
He's
call
like a
Iron
Weird
Man
Science.
Weird Science Jerk Guy.
Yeah,
He's subtitle.
he's never serious. He doesn't like play a serious role.
You didn't see Chaplin?
I
He's
didn't.
taking himself very seriously.
I think that's the
like,
thing. Even when he's doing comedy, he's taking it super seriously.
Right. I
I
feel
have a
like
little
I
soft spot
remember
for
him
him.
forever. He was in like Less Than Zero and The Pickup Artist and that Two Girls and a Guy movie that got an X rating because someone went down on a lady. You know, like,
Heaven forbid.
I know, right?
Jesus. I see why he got nominated for it.
He's gonna win it, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
I
he's been
feel
winning
like
everything else,
everybody
I
else
think.
who's nominated is great and like one of the best things in the movies that they're in. Also, I can like off the top of my head 4 people that I would have loved to see here.
Name them.
Yeah, I want to know.
Paul Mescal,
Yes,
obviously.
100%.
Willem Dafoe. Although I loved Mark Ruffalo even more, but could also see Willem Dafoe.
Yeah.
Okay, go with me on this. Jacob Elordi, but in Priscilla.
Oh.
Because I loved it. Or Saltburn. But Saltburn, I don't feel like it's his performance. It's just that he's so beautifully shot.
Yeah.
You
Yes.
know, that he just has to be super crazy
Although
hot.
he is good when they let him act. Like there are
I
scenes
think
like that scene at
Oh,
Oliver's parents'
yes,
house.
Yes.
He's like
No, I think
killing that scene. But
Yeah,
his character
you know
is so
what?
vapid that you don't
Right.
notice how much he's doing.
right. You know, I love Saltburn
Yeah.
more than anything. But performance-wise, I super loved his performance in Priscilla. That is just a super chill, like, yeah, I'm Elvis, you know.
Yeah,
But I
that's
also,
totally
go with me here for reals. I would have loved to see Marshawn Lynch in this category.
Oh, yeah, I'll go with you
because
on that
he's
for
so
sure.
good.
What was he in?
Bottoms.
Oh, I didn't
He's
see that.
so funny.
He's so funny, but again, of
so
course, it's
good.
the
Love
disrespected
it.
comedies.
Yes.
But he was really good. He was
So
fantastic.
good, right.
We've definitely talked at length about that on our Bottoms episode. Check it
Oh
out.
my gosh.
I will have to check that
I
out.
loved Bottoms. But I
That's a
mean,
great jingle. I love Bottoms.
I feel like Sterling K. Brown was like the best thing in American fiction.
Absolutely.
And Mark Ruffalo was so good in Poor Things. This is like such a great category, and I'm so annoyed that like the one person I can't stand is probably gonna win it.
I recently rewatched Asteroid City, and I was like, Jason Schwartzman, too.
He's so good,
really
yes.
Jamie Bell for All of Us Strangers, I thought.
Yeah,
Should've
all
been.
4 of those
Oh,
actors
right,
in that movie
yes.
were outstanding.
That movie was just flawless. Like,
Yes.
why is it nowhere in here? That's
It's
bullshit.
really, that
I
was...
think that is a snub. I would say that's a legit snub. but-
Yeah.
For me, the big 2 that were missing. Honestly, what does Willem Dafoe have to do to win a freaking Oscar? Like, I mean, seriously, people.
He's one of the best actors out
He's
there.
so good.
So freaking good. He is one of the
Versatile,
best
so
actors. He's so amazing. I feel like he gave an amazing performance in Poor Thing, but because he's so amazing all the time, people are like, oh, that's just him. We're not even going to give it a good grade. And he's like ruining his own
Like,
curve or
Stephen
something.
Buscemi is like that.
Yeah.
We just expect that.
What has he been nominated for? Because honestly, I feel like he should be nominated for everything he's ever
Is it
been
anything?
in.
Is it
He
anything?
was,
Okay.
with Florida Project, was he nominated?
He has not won. He was
he's not
nominated.
I know he hasn't won.
He should have won for Florida Project.
Yeah,
that was a
so
crime.
good, yeah.
That was
But Sam
beautiful
Rockwell
performance.
won
Oh, I
that
love
year
Sam Rockwell. Oh, but for the billboards?
for 3 billboards.
Always the wrong rule. Always.
Yes. Yeah, so he was nominated for Platoon in 86. For
Oh, he's so good in that too. Jesus.
Yep. Shadow of the Vampire in 2000.
I really like that movie.
The Florida Project in
So
2017.
good, loved it.
And then At Eternity's Gate in
heard of
2018.
it,
That
but
one
I'm
for
sure he
Best
was great.
Actor. So far, he has been nominated for an Oscar, a Golden Globe, a SAG, a Critics' Choice Award. Tons of awards. I don't think he wins.
Jeez.
I have to double check that to see if he won any Golden Globes or SAG Awards or anything. But yeah, I'm just
I
like,
mean, he's
dude.
so cool, he probably doesn't care, but he needs to bring home some trophies. Give that guy some
Yeah. And he does like at least one project a year. It's been.
all the
Yeah,
time.
he's
Yeah.
always and stuff.
So anyway, I was really sad not to see him here. People had to pick one. I understand Mark Ruffalo because he
Yeah,
was.
I mean,
really
Mark Ruffalo, like
super great.
every line is great.
And he's doing something
so
that like we've
good.
never seen from him before.
Yes.
Oh
Which
my-
that's
Yeah.
really
And
cool.
I
That's why it
love
stands
like
out.
he's always been so Marlon Brando-esque, and he gets to do the Stella thing.
He's so camp. Like, Lemmy was like very camp.
I know. When she hits him, and he's like, "Ow."
He was really
Yeah.
great.
I mean, this category is like fucking killer, I think.
Oh, can I say one more thing about Willem Dafoe?
Yes.
No,
He
he
was
was.
maxed out.
I've like reached my quota. Let me
Right.
sift through my pages of notes.
You
I'm
got Defoe.
I've actually loved him ever since Last Temptation of Christ. I have loved
Wow.
Willem Dafoe. He was amazing. So on January 8th of this year, he got a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Aww.
I know. I can't believe it took this long.
Yeah,
You should have had one
finally.
already.
You have to apply and pay for it yourself, you know.
Oh, you do?
So you have to like want to do it. Yeah.
Is it like when they send me the email, like, we'd like to list you in the who's who of nonprofit leaders of
Oh,
the.
maybe.
It's like the same kind of thing, like, who's who and then
Probably.
something, something. You're
It's
like,
not something
"Oh,
that just gets done for
$300.
you. Like, you have to do it.
Well, I was glad to see that for him. And then the other person, Charles Melton.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he was great.
I was
shocked
surprised, yeah.
that he wasn't there. I mean, there were so many better movies, I guess. I felt like it was a shoo-in for that.
The
And I wonder if that was when Billy went to the press a little bit. They were like, whoops, let's scoop that one away.
Yeah.
I was
Maybe.
expecting
feel
it
like
to get
he
a lot
did
more
that
words.
kind of late in the game. But I feel like that movie just like wasn't on people's radar as much as you would have thought.
I feel like, I'll have to fact check this, but I feel like the first article came out like within that nomination voting period.
So it just didn't get enough brain
Or people were
space
just
and
like, I don't
time.
want to touch that now.
Yeah.
Maybe.
The big surprise for me was Sterling K. Brown, and I'm so glad because I thought he was the most interesting character in American fiction, and like
Oh, by
his
far.
arc was really the core of the movie for me. I loved him. I thought he should be nominated when I walked out of the theater. I was like, oh my God, I hope he gets nominated.
Yeah, he
But I
was
wasn't expecting
so
that to
good.
happen. It's like a super happy surprise.
He seems really fun. I didn't know him at all until he hosted SNL because he's like most famous for This Is Us, which is a show I will never ever watch. In his monologue, he makes fun of the show and kind of like how easy it is to act in the show, and then he like just destroys the rest of the episode. It's like he should be a regular cast member. But then I was so happy to see him really bringing it in American Fiction too, and I'm like, okay, I hope he does more things that I want to see because I really like him.
Yeah,
But I'm
he
not
was
gonna
so
watch
good that
movie.
then anytime like he wasn't on screen, you missed
You
him.
did.
Yeah, seriously.
I don't want to see like the cop and the maid who are the most boringest people
Oh yeah,
on
cut that
earth.
storyline.
Yeah. More coke addicted plastic surgeon,
Yes,
please.
God, he's so good.
I do feel like Gosling is a wild card. Like
Yeah.
it's between him and RDJ. I'm sure RDJ is like leading right now, but there is a world in which Gosling gets it.
I would
I would love it. if
love
he
that
won.
to happen.
I
He
don't
was
think
so
he
great.
does- he's definitely better than Robert Downey Jr. That's for damn sure.
He's great.
Yeah.
He was great in
I
that
like him a
movie, and
lot.
maybe I just don't know his work well, but I've never seen him in a comedy role before. I mean, I was
I saw
totally
him in
surprised
Crazy
seeing
Stupid
that.
Love. He's
Yeah,
really funny
he's
in
really
Okay.
funny in
Yeah.
that.
It was just like a whole
Yeah.
new
I think
side to
he's
him
one
I've
of
never
those
seen.
like he has such leading man looks. You don't know that he can be really funny.
Yeah.
He was
Like-
so funny.
He's got
He's
Jamie
really
Dornan
funny.
disease.
Yeah, right?
And then I've seen like so many little clips of like interviews with Greta Gerwig where there's just like a lot of things about that character that were things that he brought or he ad-libbed
Yeah,
that.
he's
Really
naturally like a really hilarious person.
Right. Like what he said before the movie came out about why he took the role because his daughters, like he found their Ken doll like buried and he's like, his story needs to be told.
when I left the movie theater after seeing that, I was like, if he does not get nominated for Best Supporting Actor, it will be a total crime. Because that was so great.
He did it. They did not commit that crime. They
Yes.
committed other ones,
Other
but not that
crimes.
one.
He's my choice.
I don't know my
Everyone said a
choice.
I
mean,
wrote
of the
Mark
nominees,
Ruffalo, but
yeah.
I would be happy with Sterling K. or Ryan Gosling.
Me too.
Yeah, that's like my order too.
Robert De Niro, I know he's a good actor, but he completely underwhelmed me in Killers of the Flower Moon.
I don't even know how to judge him because I love him and I've just loved him forever.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, yes, you were Robert De Niro and you were great. I love you. No notes.
It's like a little Willem Dafoe, like,
Yeah.
you know? It's like, you're so great in everything. I don't know how to judge when you're great.
He was
Like,
so...
you're always
Like,
great.
keep being Robert De Niro.
It's like, I can't not be.
I thought he was like the most evil character I've seen him play.
Oh, he always
like
plays really
he's
evil
just
people.
But this
Not
guy
always.
No, not always, but often, frequently.
Don't erase Midnight Run and
You're right,
King
I
of
couldn't-
Comedy.
I
And
cannot.
don't get me started on a Robert De Niro thing.
Okay, I will. We definitely all stand Midnight Run. All right, Best Supporting Actress. Best Actress in a Supporting Role. That's how they say it. Emily Blunt, Oppenheimer.
Jerk-off motion.
The jerk-off motion for me there is like just what they gave her, which was nothing.
I didn't see it, but I don't care for Emily Blunt in general.
Okay, that's fair. Daniel Brooks, The Color Purple. America Ferrera, Barbie. Jodie Foster, Naiad. Devine Joy Randolph, The Holdovers. Divine? Is it Divine?
I would have said
didn't look that up.
Divine.
I forgot. I'll look it up and I'll have it both ways.
Davine Joy Randolph, The Holdovers.
Well, she's my pick.
She's my
She's been
wish
the front runner
and my
all season.
prediction.
Yeah, my pick and my prediction, and I feel like there's...
a relative unknown like that pulled it off.
Yeah.
I would definitely prefer that to Emily Blunt and Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
I feel like it's going to be America Ferrera, though.
Oh, really?
Really?
I feel like
She's the long shot.
The Holdovers one has a lock on it.
Okay.
That's what I keep hearing.
Before the nominations, when I was like creating my little list of what to watch, and it was based on who got the most mentions from like Variety and the LA Times and Entertainment Weekly and Gold Derby, all of those four had her picked as like the winner.
Yeah, she's
So,
always been the front runner.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't foresee any surprises there.
Okay.
She's my pick, and I think she'll win. The snubs here, I don't think this is really a snub, but I will say Vanessa Kirby was the only good thing about Napoleon. I only watched like an hour and something of that movie. I don't even know how
I will never watch
watched
that,
much.
but I really like her in general. She's very good.
She was the only good thing in the movie, so it's not really a snub. I was surprised to see America nominated. I probably...
loved that monologue.
Yes.
I've heard people say like she's nominated for the monologue.
Really,
I mean,
basically.
that's what I feel.
It's
I don't-
totally an
pivotal scene.
Oscar,
It's not my
Yeah.
favorite.
an Oscar monologue.
First of all, for Best Actress, I think they like to nominate an actress who's like great in an otherwise not great film. But for Best Supporting Actress, often it's like an actress who had like one scene that was really dramatic and pivotal,
they're like a big
more than somebody who was good the whole time. Like, so like Julianne Moore wouldn't have been surprising from May,
I
December.
feel like she's the lead in that.
Yeah, I thought there was
Yeah.
maybe that's part of it. Is like they were definitely co-leads.
Yeah.
So they didn't know what to do. And then
Yeah.
I've heard like Penelope Cruz for Ferrari, which I didn't
I
see.
saw it too.
But some people
yeah,
thought...
people said she did
Yeah.
amazing in it.
I mean, I feel like the one that's missing is Rosamund Pike from
Yes.
Saltburn.
Yeah.
Oh, I
She
heard
also-
Allison Oliver like supporting, like we were talking about kills one scene. That bathtub monologue is like so amazing.
It is, but I feel like Rosamund is so good. Like, she's so funny.
Yeah.
She's so memorable. And then her last scene where she's alive, I just feel like she
Yeah.
nails the nuance where, you know, oh my God, she's like, that scene I could just watch over and over. I've already watched Saltburn like 8
Which
times. I
scene?
love it. The scene when it's modern day and she runs into him in the coffee
yeah.
shop. She's talking about how her husband just died, and they're obviously referencing that he died by suicide. And she was like, in a way, I was surprised he waited so long, but it was a terrible shock. And she says, oh, you grew up. And then she's like, oh, of course you grew up, because her kids didn't,
Yeah.
you know, and everything she says in that scene. What's the other thing? When she asks, have you been happy? And he says, not really. Have you? And just, no, not really. I mean, she's so like chic and posh, but also emotional. Like, she conveys so much emotion in that scene.
Yeah.
I'm so mad at Oliver. Like, they could have just lived happily together. They could have had
Yeah.
a great time being like, you know.
She wouldn't have minded if
His
you wanted
little
to like dance
twink.
around naked for
Yes.
once in a while.
Yes, it just would be like
She'd just be out in the
Patsy
garden.
Stone having a little twink in the house. It would be
Totally.
like, what a life
Amazing.
they could have lived together.
I want to see that like alternate universe.
I
spin-off.
know. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Saltburn revisited. with-
I absolutely would not argue that if that had happened, but of course it didn't. I definitely
Right.
Claire Foy was my biggest miss,
Oh,
though.
yeah.
Like she made me fucking sob in All of Us Strangers. I mean, a lot of that movie made me sob, but her especially, like, how can you sell being the mother of someone who's older than you in the scene, and it just worked so well.
It does. Yeah.
She's amazing. I'm, like, legit mad. I feel like that is a snub. I really honestly think All of Us Strangers is a snub because I think it was too accurately gay. I think that they didn't like that.
Yeah, that's a big overall snub, is that movie not getting any recognition, because it was perfect.
Yeah.
So, like, Jodie Foster is one that I maybe could live without on this list. Same criticism. First of all, like, I never stopped seeing Jodie Foster.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just the problem with being that famous and that well known, but again, like playing an actual person, like boring. And,
Hollywood royalty.
Yeah,
I don't love Jodie Foster in general.
I could see why she got nominated, and I like more expected her to get nominated and not Annette Bening. Maybe because I was reading the articles about it. If it were up to me, I would probably have picked Annette Bening to be nominated before Jodie Foster. And I didn't see Color Purple, so I can't speak to Danielle Brooks.
I watched about half of it, and she was absolutely the best part. It's a little
Okay.
boring. It's like hard to make a musical boring, but somehow they kind of did.
Wow.
Oh, man.
I thought Once was really boring.
Oh god, I hate that movie.
Yeah.
I don't even like the music in that movie.
I know. Well, I'm just saying that's a boring musical.
Yes, 100%.
And like Emily Blunt's character in Oppenheimer feels completely interchangeable to me with Carey Mulligan's character in Maestro.
Well,
they
that's
were like the
that's
long-suffering
so my
wife.
biggest problem. I mean, my biggest problem with Oppenheimer, I thought that it was just such a boys' club movie, and like the women were barely there, and y'all know how much I love Florence Pugh, and I was like absolutely furious about how she was just like a sex object in the movie. And like the most interesting thing about her is that in real life, it's widely thought that she was murdered by the FBI.
Oh, wow.
Or the CIA. I think whichever one does more of the murders. And and like it's literally a blink and you miss it thing where they're like, oh, she died by suicide in a bathtub, but there's like one shot. Apparently, I didn't even see it. I looked it up later where there's like a hand on the back of her head. But like, why won't we fucking explore that? That's really interesting.
Right.
Instead of, it was just someone he was fucking and then he wasn't allowed to fuck her anymore. And then she died. Makes me so mad.
Yeah, I recently watched The Prestige, and I was like, wow, Scarlett Johansson had nothing to do with this.
I know.
You
She's
know,
just scenery.
he doesn't give a lot of substance to the female
It's
actors.
not good with the ladies.
No.
All right, best directing. Justine Triet, Anatomy of a Fall. Martin Scorsese, Killers of the Flower Moon. Christopher Nolan, jerk-off motion, Oppenheimer. Yorgos Lanthimos, Poor Things. Jonathan Glazer, The Zone of Interest.
This is a pretty banger category.
Yeah.
I think there were so many misses.
I do have the most misses.
Obviously, Greta Gerwig, and also Alexander Payne for Holdovers. But for me,
It's kind of surprising he's not there.
yeah. The real crime is not to see Celine Song here for Past Lives.
absolutely.
That is a crime.
Well, and I also think Andrew Haig, again,
Andrew
directed
Haig,
All
yeah.
of the Strangers. Andrew Haig should 100% be there. Get Nolan out of there. I mean, honestly, get Scorsese out of there. He's not a bad director, movie maker, but, like, that's not his best movie. Put something else in there.
I really liked that movie. Comparing Oppenheimer at 3 hours and Killers of the Flower Moon 3 hours and 26 minutes. Killers of the Flower Moon kept my attention the entire time. There was no point in that movie where my attention flagged.
Yeah.
But there were times during Oppenheimer where the momentum wasn't right and my attention flagged. And it was shorter even. And when the movie was done, you were like, that was 3 hours and 26 minutes? Wow.
For me, when
I felt it was 3 hours and 26
Yes.
minutes. You know.
I felt like they did a lot of review, which I always hate. When you find out that they did all the murders and then they show you the murders with them doing it, it's like the same scene from a different perspective. I'm like, I don't need that. We don't need it. We get it.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, I can imagine what that would look like now that we know that they did all the murders.
I mean, I love Martin Scorsese, and I thought this movie was really good, but I don't feel like what made this movie good was the director. It's a big acting showcase. It's a good story. I mean, I feel like I'm kind of neutral on him being there. I think he's great. There were a lot of things that could have been on there. You know? I mean, you could have an all ladies. You could have Celine Song
really
and
could.
Emerald Fennell and Greta
Yeah.
Gerwig.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh my god, can you imagine?
Of the ones nominated, for me, it's Poor Things. But
Yeah.
Zone of Interest is also really high for me, too, of these 5.
I think that Zone of Interest is absolutely deserving. Glazer's deserving of it. I think Justine Triet would be deserving of it. Anatomy of a Fall was like a really interesting courtroom drama. I usually don't care for those, but that one really worked. But like Lanthimos, yeah. Yorgos is... I think he might be one of my favorite directors now.
He's so good!
He's made enough movies where I liked almost all of them. Dogtooth, not so much.
I might even rewatch The Lobster, although I did hate The Lobster.
I haven't seen The Lobster, and I need to go back and watch it.
But now I've loved so much else that he's done that I'm like, should I revisit?
Well, The Favorite was my favorite film of that year.
Yeah.
And I still think about that movie all the time.
I feel like that was the first Emma Stone, like that's why she keeps working with Yorgos. Like that was the first time she really got to experiment and go beyond what other directors have allowed her to do. So yeah, The Favorite was definitely a monumental film. But yeah, so I hope it's him, but it's gonna be Nolan.
Yeah. Well, I thought Zone of Interest was so... The way that it shows how desensitized people are to, like, atrocity, and any other movie about World War II and the Holocaust that I've seen has been, like, very direct scenes of what is happening to Jewish people, but it's like, there's just constant gunshots and, like...
Yeah,
there's no screaming and people being terrorized,
burning, you can see, like, the smoke all
and
the
it's
time.
all like in the background, and then like the kids are playing with like teeth and like just,
and they're like looting the bodies. They're like, oh, I have a fur coat now.
It was so chilling for something that didn't directly show what they did.
I mean, think of what it showed, what that you've never seen before is like how people involved could live with themselves. You've never seen that before. You've only seen the good guys fighting them, and it's like, oh, the evil Nazis. And yes, they are evil. This movie is not saying they're not evil, but they're saying, like, this is how they were able to, like, sleep at night and get through their day. Is like, they had these justifications and these rewards that they were given. And,
I thought,
like, the way that guy talks about work, you know, it's just like, oh, I hope I get that promotion.
Like, the part in the end where he's, like, retching on the stairs, like, it's obviously his body can't deal with what he's doing, but he's still going in that direction. He's carrying it on. Even though, And then the girl in the negative exposure, like at night, she's like getting food for people in the camp to leave it for them. And just how that was interspersed. I thought it was a really well done movie. So that's kind of like what I hope would, if Christopher Nolan doesn't win. But
yeah, this is another one I'm like, I would be fine with anybody other than
the one who's gonna win.
Right?
Yeah. Same.
You guys make me want to see that movie.
It's really good.
I mean, it's not fun, but it is.
Yeah, I just don't know if I can do it.
Well done. I'm like, this is the way that these stories should be told, because it's like too easy to give everyone a pass when you like dehumanize them. Not that they're like, they are monsters, but they're also humans. And
well, and that allows you to
see the world.
and what's happening in the United States today.
Exactly. This is the kind of evil that human beings are capable of. Like, they very much are capable of it. Like, it reminds me of, there's a scene, in a Woody Allen movie. But as a filmmaker, there's a scene in a Woody Allen movie where a guy, it's Max von Sydow, and he's talking about, like, he was watching a documentary about the Holocaust, and he said these things always ask the questions like, how could this have happened? And they can't answer it because that's the wrong question. And the question is, why doesn't it happen more often? Because that's how evil people are, you know?
Yeah.
Like that's kind of like the vibe that I have from this movie is like, this happened because a lot of people are truly bad people.
Right, yeah.
I'll break down eventually because it's already bugging me that I have certain categories. I've seen every movie but that one. And it's nominated in so many categories that this little empty square is haunting my nightmares.
It's like the snakes. I always think of the metaphor of like in Pee-wee's Big Adventure when he goes to rescue all the pets and he like keeps going by the snake's tank and he's like, I know I have to rescue them eventually, but I'm not going to do it.
Yes, these are snakes. This movie is snakes. I was surprised to see Justine Triet for Anatomy of a Fall.
Yeah, I feel like she's there. It's like, well, we have to give a woman something. I mean,
but not Greta Gerwig or Celine Song.
Or even Emerald Fennell, you know.
Come on.
It's like, okay, we have a woman there. Is that what you want? Like 2 women?
Come on, ladies, quit complaining. We nominated a woman.
I don't want to take away from her. Like that movie is.
It's good.
Directed,
It's a good movie. There were better movies directed by women.
I think also because I was tracking the odds. So it's like, if you look at how folks were ranked with their odds, she was like 7th. She wasn't even 5th or 6th.
There was like a write-in option.
Well, it's just like she beat the odds, you know? So like Gerwig was 4th in the odds and Alexander Payne was 6th. Anyway, she like kind of beat the odds. I think that's what surprised me.
I felt like I didn't know enough about the justice system there to like really understand. I'm like, where's the jury? I've just watched too many like American legal procedurals.
I mean, the American justice system doesn't really work like American legal procedurals either.
Well, yeah. And in TV, they like really make it dramatic because like real life court proceedings are pretty boring.
Yeah.
And then I felt like the lawyers on both sides were being really forceful with the child, and I didn't really understand, like, maybe that's a cultural difference that I'm just not getting.
I don't think so. I think lawyers are often terrible with children, like in every country. It definitely made the lawyers look pretty bad.
But I think sometimes like judges are protective of that, though.
Right. And I was kind of surprised the level of maturity that kid had, and to do like the extra testimony. I felt like everything that he had gone through, it was just like, that's cool he did that, but to me it felt like not believable or something. That was just
asked a lot of that child.
They asked a lot of them, and they put him in like some really traumatizing situations, and for him to like come out in the end, like basically he exonerated. I mean, sorry, I don't want to. Well, everybody saw it.
Spoiler-filled free-for-all.
Right.
You've been warned.
But yeah,
basically he was asked to choose between his parents in a way.
Yeah.
And he's like, I kind of don't even really know, but it's rough. It's super rough.
Yeah. I mean, I thought
and then driven to do that experiment on his dog that is like
oh my
his
gosh, that
service
was
dog that he needs.
horrible. I could
he's
not
like,
with that.
if I don't do this, my mom will go to jail for life. Like,
yeah.
It was intense.
It was really intense. But I really liked some of the things it brought up. There was a really good conversation that he had with his guardian or whatever that he spent the weekend with, and she was saying like sometimes you have to decide or make up your mind about what happened. She
I really
put it
liked
so
that
well.
part.
I thought that was such a, I don't know.
Like life advice?
Yeah, like life advice.
It's like life advice.
You have to decide so you won't go crazy, basically.
Sometimes you don't know the full story and you just have to make a decision based on what you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you couldn't ever know is the thing. Like, he had to decide because he was the decider. Like, he'd been given this impossible task. Ugh.
What a crazy situation.
Yeah.
And I also
we
like
talked about it. I'm like,
I know,
I'm
like,
kind of pulling for it, but I mean, Yorgos number 1, but maybe Justine number 2, Glazer, everyone but Nolan.
I know, everyone but Nolan.
but that is who's gonna win. I think it's like kind of a lock. I'll be so surprised if it doesn't
Yes.
win.
Well, let's talk about Best Picture. Okay, this is a long list, as we all know. Best Picture. I'm not going to read the producers. They know who they are.
Yeah.
Best Picture. American Fiction. Anatomy of a Fall. Barbie. The Holdovers. Killers of the Flower Moon. Maestro. Oppenheimer. Past Lives. Finally.
Yeah.
Poor Things. The Zone of Interest. Missing from this list is 100% All the Strangers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's nothing here that surprises me in that this is like the exact top 10 that the odds were saying. It was like there's nothing surprising
I was a little
here.
surprised American Fiction because I didn't feel like that had so much buzz around it. I mean, it's fine.
If it weren't here, I wouldn't be surprised. You know what I mean? Like I'd be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that's not there.
I don't think there would be a lot of like, oh, I can't believe American Fiction wasn't.
If All of Us Strangers were there instead of American Fiction.
Right.
I mean, I also think it's a diversity pick, and they went with the black family instead of the gays. They chose, I mean,
So
it's
jaded,
a snub.
but also based on reality. I mean, this is another one where Barbie being this kind of cultural phenomenon, and I don't think it has a chance to win this category, but I'm happy to see that it got nominated here. You know?
Yeah.
I would have been mad if it wasn't.
I mean, that would have been too egregiously obvious. Like, okay, you guys, what the fuck is going on
Yeah.
here? Did you not like all the money that Greta got
Right,
you?
I know, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's the part that when everyone's like so upset that she didn't get nominated for Best Actress, it's like she's crying all the way to the bank, you guys. Like, she is the executive producer of this film. No matter what it wins, she won already. Also, I was thinking probably the only thing you want more than money when you're a professional actor is to have the blank check to do what you want to do.
Right.
And like
Yeah.
be able to be doing what motivates you creatively. And she also has that too. So,
Well, that comes
know?
with the money. Like, I don't think
Yeah.
you get that without the money.
Yeah.
right. Well, like the box office. She's like, let's make a movie about this doll and I'm going to hire Greta Gerwig to do that. And she made smart choices where that's concerned.
Definitely.
The reason why Mattel optioned it to be a movie is to sell more dolls. And
Yeah.
like, it could have gone so horribly in other people's hands. And Barbie's in this fantasy world and just finding the in-between of like
Yeah.
reality. I mean, it's a movie about a toy. That's what it is.
But it was
But
done
it's
in
also
a really
about
smart
society.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
it-
no one would expect it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the existential crisis of it all, and Ken had like his own identity discovery.
The whole thing was just so smart. And
Yeah.
I didn't realize that her production company was also the one behind Promising Young Woman, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Lucky Chap.
Yeah. So
And-
Lucky Chap was also Promising Young Woman. And then also Saltburn.
Emerald Fennel was
yeah.
Midge.
Yeah. They're
Yeah.
friends.
Do what you want,
Yeah.
Margot Robbie, because I'm here for whatever it is.
yeah.
Like, I like what you're doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was
I
such
vote
a
yes.
good choice to
Yeah.
get Greta Gerwig.
Of the 10, I would say that 5 of them are centered around women and women's stories. And I feel like that is exciting.
That
to
is
me.
exciting.
Because I would count Killers of the Flower Moon. I think that revolves around.
Even the Zone of Interest.
Lilies.
Yeah,
which
Zone
I know
of
you haven't
Interest
seen
is-
that.
And I haven't
Yeah,
seen that,
let's-
so that makes
Yeah.
6.
Yeah.
Sandra Hüller is in that, and she's fucking amazing in that. She's so chilling.
So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I know we've talked about some of these films like in other categories, but can we talk about Past Lives for a minute?
Yes.
I love it,
It's
yeah.
so good.
That movie was so good, and I'm like so mad that it didn't get nominated for more things because, again, like a story that centers on a woman's experience, and I felt like she was a complicated person with like internal life, and like it wasn't your sort of cliche Hollywood movie where she's like, my childhood boyfriend is coming, and now I'm gonna leave my husband, and like, you know,
Yeah, I mean, I like how her husband calls it out as like, if this were a cheesy movie,
Yeah.
I'd be the villain, but it's not. It's real life, and so it's complicated because it's like two people. I mean, it's like it answers the question like, can you love two people at once?
Right?
And I
It's
think the answer
really
is yes.
lovely.
I think like the themes too about like being an immigrant and the juxtaposition between her friend who continued to grow up in Korea and then her growing up here and how they look at things differently because of that. Her story as an immigrant was really interesting to me, as well as the sort of romantic story.
Yeah, and how
then-
like it wasn't her choice. Like
Yeah.
the things that parents decide for you change your whole trajectory,
Yeah.
and you don't have a choice in that.
I was happy to see that story. I related to some aspects of it a little bit, and other aspects I was like, never thought of this, you know?
Yeah.
It just really was moving, engaging, stimulating, not pushy. I'd say like, you know, you've got Oppenheimer where they're like, we want you to feel a certain way about this thing that's happening. And like that movie didn't do that. It treated the audience like intelligent people, you know?
Absolutely.
And then I found out that it's semi-autobiographical for the director. Makes it even more powerful to me.
Yeah.
It was one of my favorite films of the year, and I was really sad not to see director and best actress nominations for that.
Absolutely.
So I'm glad that it got some love here under Best Picture, even though it has like no chance of winning.
Right, yeah.
Because it really was one of the best pictures. Absolutely.
You know, I watched it
Yeah.
at your house.
Yeah.
I was trying so hard not to break down crying. I'm like, "Ugh, if I was alone, I'd be like,
Yeah.
so hard.
It's like the
It was-
best kind of sad to me, you know?
Yeah.
Beautiful sad, like,
Poignant.
yeah. For me, very relatable, like the specific emotion of being with the person you love, but there's also someone else that you loved once. And you don't want to be with him, but you love, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, that doesn't mean that you stopped loving that person.
Yeah,
Right, yeah.
But that love
I
wasn't
just-
real love.
Right. That's like a very specific concept that I really like.
You still hold people in
Yeah.
your heart.
Right.
Absolutely. And that is so underrepresented on
Yeah.
the screen. It's always like, this was the better choice. Or there's such an obvious winner and loser in almost every romantic story you see.
Right. Or like that she loves her husband and that's the one she wants to be with, but the that doesn't mean that her feelings about the other person changed or went away, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's just sort of really beautiful, I think.
Yeah, her relationship with both people evolved as she evolved. It's actually reminding me of what you were just saying about Anatomy of a Fall. It's like sometimes you just have to decide.
Right. Well,
You know, and
it's like
you make
not...
you make choices.
Yeah.
I kind of saw it as like she wasn't like choosing, but you have to close one door eventually, you know, to fully enjoy your life. Like have this relationship that you can't be divided or something like that. I felt like.
Right.
One way I think about like past relationships where I feel like it's not like something didn't work out, but it's like when you fly somewhere, get on the plane, you go up in the air, you have your time, and then you land, and then you get off the plane, and it's like, that didn't not work out. It took you where you were going. And
Right.
That's a great perspective. I'm gonna like, think about that a lot tonight when I go home. Took you where you were
beautifully
going.
stated.
Yeah, really nice. Well, anyway, I'm happy to see it nominated, and I wish it got nominated for more things. It should have.
We did mention the directing, but I feel like that was a really egregious omission because that was a movie where I really noticed the filmmaking in a really good way.
Yeah.
Where I was just like in awe of so many shots. And they're really interesting shots. All the shots from really far away, like that one where they're walking.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's like really far away and kind of up high, but you can hear them perfectly, like they're right there. Best directing is like if you have iconic shots from the movie. You're like, I always think about this shot or the way the camera moved here or there. And I know that's also a lot of the cinematographer, but like the director is the one saying, let's do that. You know?
And I think the kind of performance that you get out of people is a lot on the director.
I was just really wanted to ask a minute ago, like, what do you think makes a good director? Like, what do you look at when you're trying to decide when is it the acting, when is it the script, when is it the director? I don't know. I was thinking about this in the context of cinematography because I was like, what makes it good cinematography? Like, I don't know what the rules are, you know, or if there's like a standard. I know whether I liked it or not.
Right.
So I was kind of wondering about what the director's responsibilities are.
I think we are going to talk about that category.
I really liked the scene where they're all at the restaurant, like at the bar, and like the husband's on one side and he doesn't speak Korean, and they're having this seemingly like profound conversation and he's just patiently waiting.
Yeah, and they're not being rude. It's that the other guy doesn't speak English that well. It's like he's on the outside and he understands why he has to be there, but it's still hard.
Yeah,
and like
that
she's in the
scene.
middle, and you can tell that she's really conscious of all of that as well. Like they're all really conscious of it, but it's also like kind of how it has to be.
Yeah, like sort of like processing his whole visit, and I thought the husband character was very understanding and like wanted her to like, you know, finish whatever was happening.
And you didn't want to be the one to say like you can't see him or you can't do this, and obviously he hoped that she would come back to him, but he also I think understood that it was a risk to let her do that. You know, it's the whole if you love someone, set them free.
Right.
Like that's a cliche, but kind of true.
But it is true. Right.
Yeah, Amy had it right. You guys should do a Paid and Puke podcast episode on that one.
Oh, yeah, I would love to do that one.
It's a good one.
Next call.
So, we each chose a category to tack on here. Who wants to give it first?
I'll go first because I didn't do like a lot for mine. I picked cinematography, so you know I am a salt burner for life.
We are going to start a festival called Saltburn.
Salt burning man. Salt burning man.
Salt burning man.
Nice.
Actually, Logan and I decided that April 24th can be Saltburn Day because there's like no specific dates in Saltburn except we paused and zoomed in on the newspaper when he sees James's obituary. It was April 24th. So okay, Saltburn man maybe.
That's a pretty good time for a festival.
And I feel like the thing with Saltburn, like, totally understand if someone is like, that was not my thing, I did not dig it or whatever, but I feel like one thing you can't take away is the cinematography, is the look is just fucking gorgeous. Like, you know, even like one of the top Letterboxd reviews, a negative one is like, I hope the cinematographer's back is okay from carrying this movie.
Oh, dang.
Every frame in this movie could be on somebody's wall. It's
Absolutely. Every single frame. It's so beautiful. But also, I do think that is Emerald's direction, too, because she had a different cinematographer for Promising Young Woman, and you can see some of her kind of becoming a trademark because she's got 2 movies. She really likes like a centered, almost symmetrical frame. And she does that all the time, and there's so much of that in Saltburn. And that's gotta be her saying, do this. And she also really likes to sort of mimic classic paintings and scenes. And I always find out about it after the fact because I'm not really all that up on classic paintings, but there's always like somebody they're like, oh yeah, the way the light is and the way this person's laying and everything is like, there's so much thought going into every single detail. But I'm calling it a true snub for cinematography, Saltburn, because here's some other credits that Linus Sandgren did. American Hustle, La La Land, Don't Look Up, and Babylon. Fucking Oscar darlings, left and right.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think they were just like, Ember Flannel.
Right. Saltburn just wasn't one of their movies this
Yeah.
year, you know? But also, like, it really made me think about the Oscars and how relevant are they really, because, you know, I definitely feel like Saltburn is the kind of movie people are still going to watch years from now, you know? Is anyone ever going to watch Maestro again after this year? You know, and you look at, like, things that were the big Oscar movies over the years that, like, nobody ever thought about again. Even ones that are totally good, like, who's watching Spotlight ever again, you know? Like, that movie was fine, but it's like a whole different category. What are
I'd
the
watch
Oscar
Poor
movies?
Things over and over again.
Over
Yes,
and
Poor
over.
Things
Yeah.
is going to be one that people 10 years from now will watch Poor Things, you know?
Yeah.
Did anyone here watch El Conde?
I watched part of it and I didn't care for it.
It was so bizarre.
I thought it was like kind of boring and I was not feeling it at all.
It was very weird.
And I definitely thought the cinematography was completely unremarkable.
It's hard sometimes when a movie's in black and white. It
It's on
automatically...
you to make it look good if it's in black and white, you know, and on the cinematography in particular. So I feel like he failed.
Yeah. Like sometimes they make a film in black and white because then it looks more like none of
Serious,
this.
kind of,
right.
right?
When I think cinematography, I think The Lighthouse. That was
yes.
fucking
Love that
amazing.
fucking
Like it was
movie.
so
Yes.
amazing.
Yeah.
That's another one where every frame could be
And
on
Yeah.
Willem Dafoe was snubbed.
Oh, God!
Willem Dafoe.
That movie.
Yeah, that one, the whole thing was...
That's a movie that people will
Brilliant.
always watch.
Yeah. But what's interesting too about El Conde, I thought, because I looked up who's the cinematographer if this is nominated, and I don't think it looks good. But the other movies he did, Carol, Far From Heaven, Mildred Pierce, and here's some fun ones.
a little Hans
Desperately
Hartway over
Seeking
him.
Susan.
Oh my
God!
God!
I'm not done.
Oh.
True Stories, The Limey, which I fucking
God,
love,
I
and
love The
looks
Limey.
amazing, and The Virgin Suicides.
Oh my
So
goodness.
I know this guy's
Wow.
capable of great things, but that ain't it.
Wow.
So that must have been like just what the director wanted, because he's capable of greatness.
I guess, yeah.
Of what's nominated, I hope Poor Things wins.
Yeah,
because
totally.
Poor Things
Absolutely.
has a great look.
I mean, Oppenheimer is going to sweep everything it's
gonna get all
in.
this stuff.
Grumble.
Like, the cinematography was not good on Oppenheimer. I thought it was not interesting. I didn't like it. I thought it was trying too hard, and it was annoying. I was, like, so annoyed by so many shots in that movie.
I will say that sound is something that I think Oppenheimer would probably win. I saw it in IMAX, and that movie was so fucking noisy. And, like, people talking, I'm like, I can't... Thinking back, they didn't really know what was gonna happen. It was, like, very disorienting in those scenes, I felt like. Maybe that was effective. But yeah, they just didn't know if it was gonna go off or what the hell was happening.
When's this gonna go off?
So, Jessica, cinematography is like your jam?
I mean,
You know what good cinematography looks like?
feel like I do.
Okay. Because I don't know.
I mean, I
What
definitely
makes it
know when I
good?
see a movie and notice the shots, and I'm in awe of them.
Yeah.
And like when I think, oh, I would never have thought to shoot that scene that way, but because they did, it changed the scene, or it made the scene so impactful. Like, it's so fucking important.
Right.
And I think the three biggest heroes of a movie are the actors, the director, and the cinematographer. And then the editor is fourth.
You think all of those above, like, the writer?
Oh, I guess I'm just talking about it in terms of like how it,
the screen.
right,
Okay, yeah, I gotcha.
how it comes off.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I totally see that.
My notes say, what the fuck even was El Conde?
Right.
So weird.
It was so weird. Like, I just don't even understand why it's there.
It was
other
a
than,
very-
like, a
it was-
legacy nom.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there was some interesting stuff about it. That it was a satire was kind of interesting. And I also wonder how much is lost by having it be translated. Like, sometimes with satire,
Yeah.
it's just like
I mean,
so
maybe
subtle.
it was funnier than it was coming off in translation. Maybe that would have held my attention more.
There were a lot of really cool shots of him, like, flying over Patagonia, you know? It's, like,
I
really
noticed
cool,
those,
yeah.
and I was like, okay. But They didn't really get me. I was like, I've seen better flying shots. I don't know.
Well, it's a little bit, can you take a bad shot of someone flying over Patagonia? You know, it's Patagonia. It's picturesque, it's stark, it's bleak, it's picturesque, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe you didn't have to work that hard to make
I mean,
that
when
shot
I thought
look
about
good.
it, I was like, it's a drone flying over Patagonia. That's kind of an easy get, right? And then obviously he was in a green screen situation. Like, when it's so easy for me to figure out how they did it, then it's not impressive to me. When I'm like, oh, so much went into this looking that good, that's when I'm impressed.
I am learning a lot, and I appreciate it. Thank you. I feel educated. I am voting for Poor Things, if it were up to me.
Same.
But it's going to be Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to talk about cinematography?
No, I
It's your
just wanted to
category.
say Saltburn.
You can say Saltburn anytime you
Oh
want.
my god.
Saltburn. I'm just like in the
Literally,
middle.
okay.
Saltburn.
This is my thing that I talk in my sleep and it's so embarrassing and dumb. And Matt has told me there was a night I just woke up and I was like, Saltburn.
That's amazing.
Amazing.
That's
I
pretty
love
awesome.
it. Yes, that's great. Your commitment is deep in your subconscious.
That's really funny. Well, the next on my page is costume design. Was that?
Oh, yeah, that's my... So, Barbie, Killers of the Flower Moon, Napoleon, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, and I think that's it.
That's it.
So, my pick and what I think is going to win is Poor Things. I thought the costuming was amazing.
Yes.
It wasn't nailed down to a particular period. It was sort of like Victorian, but not. She wasn't wearing any corsets. That was like that was on purpose. She would have never done that. You know, she would have like torn it off. I just love all of the big sleeves and a lot of, I don't know, just really gorgeous clothes. And some of it was almost like a child. She was wearing like a petticoat with no pants and like culottes or like underwear basically. And then the dancing scene, she was sort of wearing like a see-through skirt. It was kind of like somebody that isn't whatever the society,
She's never
high
been
society.
taught how to dress, and
Right.
this is how she wants to put things together. There's so much like I could tell she was informed by her child. She was like she had a toddler when she was making the movie.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
Like, that is so. I mean, I remember when both my children, when they were younger, wanted to start dressing themselves, and I'm like, why not? Like, just wear whatever you want.
Yeah.
And I loved the combinations they came up with. It was amazing.
Yeah.
When you don't have like rules that people tell you.
Oh my god, yeah. I remember my younger sister was very... I've heard the term is power clashing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, my sister was the queen of like, I'm gonna wear this crazy shirt with another crazy print. Some of the clothing, it was almost like female genitalia. It would have these like open slit in the front and then pillowy ruffles on the outside. There was like a shirt that they called the vagina blouse. So they just had tops that mimicked an orifice, basically. And then she used all these different materials like plastics and latex and some of the clothing, and not exactly like stuff from the Victorian times. And then the wedding dress was almost like a cage, like the structural like piping around the sleeves. It was all like very light and airy. My favorite one was, looked like a bolero or something, but it was like peach colored and it was like ruffled. I loved that so much. I mean, I will be shocked if it doesn't win.
Yeah.
I mean, Oppenheimer just seems like, seen those clothes, 40s, got it.
I feel like they might go Barbie. It didn't blow me away.
Yeah.
Right, it
But I
was...
feel like they might go
They might
that
want
way.
to throw a bone to Barbie. Kind
Exactly.
That's what I feel like it's
Right.
gonna go Barbie. I actually put Barbie as my pick and who will win, but now you've convinced me I should pick Poor Things.
This is another one where I feel like I could have seen Saltburn in there because the
Yeah.
clothes in that movie
You
like
can, like,
are gorgeous. Like
When you think about a scene and you know what they're wearing and you remember what they're wearing in every scene, like that's
right.
Yeah.
that's good costume design.
Especially, I mean, like, I already said this off pod, but like, how to dress women who are wearing black tie every night. It's almost like casual black tie, you know? Like, especially like Pamela, the first time you see her at black tie dinner, she has her goofy tattoos and like, her clothes, Pamela's clothes are amazing. You'd think she'd be a riot to look at her. She's so stylish, you'd think she'd be a riot to look at her. Yeah, it's like,
One of my favorite
black
line
tie.
deliveries is the the way Felix says. It's like black tie.
Black tie.
Just reading that article, it was just so interesting to me. Emerald Fennell's like, in England, the more wealthy old money you are, the more disarray your clothes are. And then like looking back on the movie, I don't know, just those awful rugby shirts he's wearing. He doesn't have to try. He doesn't. Yeah. He looks gorgeous in that ribbed tank top with just wings. But that's like the easiest thing.
Right. Venetia's dress at that party is like also amazing.
Yes. Oh yeah, the spider web.
Spider web. Yeah.
And I really love her billowy nightgown as well.
Yeah.
And also just the way, like, the first time you see Oliver, he has like so many clothes on. He has like a jacket and a vest and a hat. Like, you know, that's a part of the thing is like how he goes from so many clothes. He has less and less clothing on. You know, to nothing at all. Yeah. Even like when he's first at Saltburn and the maid wakes him up in the morning and he's sleeping in like pajamas, and then the next time you see him asleep, he's sleeping in like almost nothing.
Yeah.
And then
sleeping in
he takes
Felix's
everything.
bed.
Like Felix's boxers, maybe.
Oh my god! Yes,
the clothes are a lot in that movie,
and they thought about them so much. Like I've read numerous articles about how much thought was put into everything. I ain't read shit about Napoleon.
I know. I didn't see the movie, but of course, like all like the
Napoleon.
opulence of the emperor, like
whatever. They can look at pictures and be like, that one, that one, that one.
Yeah, there's
you don't have to think about it.
Yeah, you're just replicating something. You're not reimagining it.
You're not thinking about how the clothes inform the character, which is like what costume design
always
should be
check the sleeves.
Right? Oh my god! Like the movies, that's like the subtext is how important clothes are.
Right. Yeah, they make you
It's so good.
fit in or whatever. Yeah.
Or stand out. Or, yeah.
Or the thing of just like, you know, you'd think she'd be a riot to look at her because she's so stylish, you know. And I mean, there's something, you know, because there's also like when the girl doesn't want to invite Oliver to whatever they're talking about, and she's like, no one wants to sit with the guy who like shops at Oxfam, whatever that is, you know.
It's like Goodwill.
Right.
Yeah.
I was looking up Jacqueline Duran for Barbie and Holly Waddington from Poor Things, trying to just see like what their history is. Jacqueline Duran won in 2020 for Little Women and in 2013 for Anna Karenina. And she's been nominated in other years since then. In fact, there was one year she was nominated twice.
Oh wow!
Like she was
good movies.
Oh, I should have known. I feel like
You didn't expect follow-up questions.
well, you know, it's interesting. It was a lot harder to find information on Holly. Oh, let's see. In 2018, she was nominated for Beauty and the Beast and also Darkest Hour, both as costume design. So she must be part of a team. She was nominated for Cyrano and Atonement and Pride and Prejudice.
Oh, wow.
But I couldn't find as much information about Holly Waddington, actually. It was kind of, maybe she's more of an underdog than...
She's new, kind of.
She said that, you know, part of the movie is black and white and then it goes to color, and she was saying that she had made all of the clothes before he decided to do the black and white. And doing black and white, you want to have a lot of contrast in the clothes, and she had already made them such that each character like had a basically like the outfits were tonally like the same color. And but she said that they changed some of it, but like there were a lot of textures that she used in the clothing that helped bring the contrast. I thought that was interesting because I guess I didn't really think about like the process of like how you make a costume for black and white versus color.
Right, it doesn't come up much.
Yeah.
When you look her up online, you cannot find a Wikipedia in English that tells you what awards she's been nominated for, but you can get her CV. It's like, and here from her manager, like, or for her, you know, agent or whatever. But it's just interesting that it's like, and here's
I think she
her
has
CV
worked.
right
she
here.
worked on The Favorite too, I think. So she's worked with him before.
It's in Dropbox.
Wow.
So strange to me.
And I mean, there's like lots of very feminine clothing in it, and then there's sort of like the student Bella Baxter where she's wearing a coat, and I guess it was Emma Stone's idea to just like not wear the pants with it, and I thought that was just like a fun trivia. But
I'm rooting for her now because she, for film, her only ones where she's listed are Poor Things, Lady Macbeth, Departure, and Ginger and Rosa. And then in television, it's The Great, which was just a pilot. And then everything else is like assistant costume designer. The Man from U.N.C.L.E., Lincoln, Warhorse, Another Year, Glorious.
Oh, I was
The
wrong.
other
I guess I
man.
thought she did the favorite, but I guess I was wrong.
Atonement. She was like costume assistant on Atonement.
Oh.
Like her CV's quite short. There's some more stuff in theater and dance, but as far as film goes, she doesn't have a lot of like lead designer credits. So Underdog, good job on the research. Do you have like a affinity for costume? Do you always love it?
I
or-
really love like cool. Poor Things is just like so different, and I thought it was a very striking movie in a lot of ways. I don't know. Yeah, I guess so. I never really thought about it, but I do like beautiful clothes.
I was just curious if you always noticed costumes or it was like this movie made you want to pick costumes.
Oh, it was definitely this movie that made me want to choose it. This has got to win. I will be shocked if it doesn't win. And apparently, like, for Killers of the Flower Moon, it was a lot of work that went into, like, the accuracy.
Yeah.
I mean, the Pendleton blankets were really a thing that was popular with the Osage. And, like, the jewelry that they wore. Poor Things was just so cool. I just loved it. One of my favorite Oscar winners, it was the woman who won for Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. She wore, like, an American Express gold card dress. It was so great.
So I picked writing, and I lumped original and adapted together because how can you pick between them? Like,
Right,
it's
of course.
best writing. So, best writing, adapted screenplay, American Fiction, Barbie, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, and The Zone of Interest. And best writing, original screenplay, Anatomy of a Fall, The Holdovers, Maestro, May December, the only nomination I think for that, and Past Lives. Yay. For me, the misses from writing, All the Strangers, 100% adapted. And then the Royal Hotel I thought of because that was like based on a documentary about a real place, and I thought that movie was
really
so good, and I really thought a lot about that movie after we saw it. Good old Kitty Green. I want it to be Poor Things, but it'll probably be Barbie, I think, for that one.
So I'm mad that they made Barbie be in the adapted category.
Yeah, it really is not an adapted screen.
Yeah, like
No,
adapted from what? Literally.
From a bajillion little girls' bedrooms over the last like 60 years, apparently.
Yeah, I didn't get that either.
Because
It was
those are
just, like,
existing characters. And I'm like,
Right,
no, they're...
they're sort of blank slates, I feel
Yes!
like. There's
I'm still mad, as you can tell.
Yeah.
I think it should have been in
Right.
OG.
And I
I mean, Leonard Bernstein is an existing character.
Yeah.
Oh my
Like,
gosh,
just-
I bet that's why they did that, to make room for fucking Maestro.
Right.
Let's shove it. We can't not nominate it, but we could shove it up here.
Right?
Oh, that's so
Anyway,
annoying.
I
now
was
I'm
mad.
Now I'm mad as well.
Right. And I feel like the Barbie people are mad because now they're competing against Oppenheimer,
Again.
which is going to get every...
Again.
Yes.
I don't
really
think Oppenheimer's gonna
cheated
win
them there.
I feel like it is.
Ugh, I'll be very upset if it does.
It's the only one of that I didn't see.
You
I mean, are we just
saw
going by how
enough.
long it is?
I mean, I really honestly feel like, Amy, you know it.
Oh, I don't feel like I need to see Oppenheimer at all, no.
Ugh.
I feel like there's a lot missing.
Yeah.
You know, Isle of Bottoms and Saltburn, Asteroid City, but also I would have loved You Hurt My Feelings in there.
Oh yeah,
I love that movie.
that was such a good one. That was like
It's such a smart
a long
grown-up
time ago.
movie that it was this year though. I feel like it's the kind of movie that they used to make a lot more of, like smart and for grown-ups.
I think
Yeah.
the interesting,
I
the
love
thing
that.
you never see is stories about like married couples that actually are like mostly happy, but they just have like a little bad patch. you know?
Right? Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I think
Yeah.
most of the time it's like, oh, they got divorced and it was a big deal or whatever. But it was just like, we just had a little
Right.
misunderstanding for a while and we're mad at each other, but then we got over it. This is how we got through it.
yeah, which is like real life.
Yeah,
Like
it's so much more
reality.
relatable, right?
Yeah.
Have any of you seen Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret?
No.
That was one that some people were saying would have been an adapted screenplay.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen it yet, but now I really want to.
I heard it was really good.
Betty
Yeah,
Safdie
I
is
heard
the dad in it.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, now she's into it.
I'm kind of after the
Kind of
curse.
feeling
I love Betty
Safdie. Yeah, I really liked him on that show.
The curse is so good.
Yeah, I think he's gonna do more acting because like he and his brother
Nice.
are not working together now. I
Oh,
think-
really?
I think it's because he wants to act more.
Oh, okay. It's not like a falling out or anything.
No, but I think they're wanting to do their own thing.
I would really like to see Past Lives win the original screenplay because it's not going to win
Yes.
anything else, and I really
Me
wanted
too,
to win
right.
something. But I wouldn't be upset if Anatomy of a Fall won because it's a courtroom drama and because there's so much weight on what the words are. I feel like the script matters matters a lot in that kind of movie. So
And it's a bilingual movie, which is pretty
Yes.
interesting, and how well that works.
and that whole like did she didn't she mystery, what they say and what they don't say is really important. I could see that winning. And then of
I
course
would
the
not be mad at
holdovers. I wouldn't be mad about the holdovers.
I think it's gonna be the holdovers.
Yeah.
I would love to. Yeah, maybe that's gonna be their
The
like.
one-
You should win something.
I kind of feel
Well,
like
it's gonna win Best Supporting Actress though, for sure.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I kind of feel like the critics and stuff are loving Anatomy of a Fall, and it
Yeah.
probably won't win director, but if it's gonna win something, it'll win that. But that's just a
Win
guess.
this one.
The thing, honestly, that would make me mad on that one is May, December, because
Yeah.
I didn't like that movie, and we weren't on the same page on that, but the screenwriter, I felt, was just so full of shit. Everything she said about this movie in
I mean,
press,
I
like...
completely agree with you about that.
Like,
Yeah.
loosely based
Yeah.
on merit. Like, no, it's not loosely based if you change where she works, you know, and it's a jumping off point. I'm like, you're full of shit, and you wrote a movie about real people and are pretending that. Like, really, like, why is that original and Barbie is adapted,
know.
you know?
Oh my God.
Like,
That's
okay,
what
but
I'm
then there's, like,
saying.
full transcript from, like, the interview, who was the boss, who was the boss, you know?
Yeah.
How is that original?
That's ridiculous.
I have not finished that movie yet. I feel like this movie is exploitive. It's like a movie about exploiting an exploiter, and it's exploitive. There's just so much
You
within
should
the
listen
first
to what I
5
said
minutes.
on her podcast.
Listen to our episode, you'll like it. I think.
10 minutes in, I was like, I am not gonna
It's
like
a real
this
journey.
movie.
I went in being
Yeah.
like, I really like this movie, and then by the end, I was like, yeah, that's kind of fucked up. Baby really turned me around on it. I mean, I still think things about it are good, but it was on the basis of exploiting and lying about it. That's not good.
It was a jumping off point.
And they
Like,
never acknowledged it, which I feel
And the
like...
jump was 1 inch.
right?
Exactly.
Right.
I feel like people kind of clued into that at a certain point, and that's why we haven't heard anything about it since Oscar.
Yeah.
It's interesting. There's a lot of couples that are nominated together. Like that's
Oh.
her and her husband, I think, and
Oh,
then
really?
Christopher Nolan's producer is his wife,
Oh.
and
Greta Gerwig.
I'm surprised you
Greta
Yeah.
Gerwig and Noah Baumbach.
Yeah,
There's a
but
lot,
Howard
Howard lets a
couple
woman
those
do
two.
anything.
I know, right?
and maybe Justine Triet. I don't know if
And Arthur Harari.
maybe that's a couple. I don't know.
The year of the couples.
Romance is in the air.
I would like to see Barbie win for Best Adapted just because they're gonna like shoehorn it in there. I want to see it win and be like, ha! We don't care which category you put us in, we're still winning.
If the movie's nominated, I guess I liked Poor Things the best.
I really wanted Poor Things. Like, that's a perfect screenplay. I love every line in that movie.
Yeah.
The Zone of Interest is super
It's
good.
very Yeah.
And that's not any kind of fun, but it is a very well written movie.
Yeah.
So many of the movies. Somebody the other day was like, "You don't have to do this, Denise."
That was great! Yes, you don't have to watch Napoleon.
Napoleon! Like
Oh, yeah.
5 minutes in, I was like, "I hate this movie."
Yes, no,
Yeah.
you don't
So
have
bad.
to.
You really don't.
I watched like an hour and 30 minutes of that or something. I think I paused
Which
it for
is like
something.
used to be a whole movie, but it is
I know.
not.
I think I paused it, and when I saw that there was still a whole nother hour left, I was like, "Oh, fuck this! I'm not."
I have to go to bed. My
Never
God.
I
mind.
heard that
Insane.
was me out loud when we saw Everything Everywhere.
know.
All at Once.
Oh yeah.
The like part 2 thing came up. I literally was out loud like, what? I thought we were wrapping it. Then we
Yep.
gotta do Everywhere and All at Once.
Yeah,
Yes.
it wasn't just part 2. It was.
I know. Well,
every-
part 3 was like 2 minutes, but
But
yeah.
like when you saw.
But
part
yes,
2
I was
everywhere, you're
like-
like, fuck, there's a third part.
I was
Obviously.
like, what?
Oh my God, are we ready to talk about
Yes,
Alright.
let's do
music?
the final category we're talking about tonight is music original song. Fuck my score tonight. The Fire Inside from Flamin' Hot. Music and lyrics by Diane Warren.
Oh gosh, that's why.
I know that's why I picked this category.
Yeah, I'm Just Ken from Barbie, obviously. Music and lyrics by Mark Ronson and Andrew Wyatt. It Never Went Away from American Symphony. Music and lyrics by John Batiste and Dan Wilson. Wajaji, A Song for My People from Killers of the Flower Moon. Music and lyrics by Scott George. What Was I Made For from Barbie. Music and lyrics by Billie Eilish and Phineas O'Connell.
Did you look up how to pronounce Wajaji?
I did.
Yeah, I did too. Because I was like, well done.
Yeah.
I like Googled it.
I was like, that's pretty important to get right.
Yeah.
For me, I'm just gonna say it's like kind of a joke, but not 100% a joke. I was like, where's Dix the musical in this?
Right.
That movie is so funny. And, I mean, it's all because the music is so funny. And when I was doing this, I was like, I'm just gonna put the soundtrack on, and I listened to the whole thing, and I was like, it's so funny. It's really good.
Yeah.
It's obviously like never ever even gonna come near the Oscars.
I don't know. I mean, South Park.
That's such a
had
good
song in
point.
there,
Oh
yeah.
my god, two hetero libertarians can have their funny movies.
Right.
Not two uber gays.
Uber games. So I watched American Symphony, and I think a lot of people expected that to get nominated for Best Documentary. But it was interesting. It didn't get nominated for Best Documentary, but this is a song that figures really prominently in it.
What's it about?
The film is about John Batiste, and he did his Carnegie Hall concert and wrote this American Symphony, and it's really interesting because it's, you know, like, what if we did a symphony but actually using like American roots music and instruments and themes. It was a very cool thing that he was doing, and then in the process of that, his wife, I think maybe she had cancer and then it came back. So the documentary started out being like the making of American Symphony, and then ended up being a little bit more about their journey and her journey. It was really interesting, and I had never heard of him when he came out with that song Freedom, but that song was just like it for me that whole summer, and for like 3 months after, I was just like, this is the best song. It makes me so happy. He seems like a really cool, like, down-to-earth guy. Like, he's not letting fame go to his head and all that stuff. So I'm pro them. And then...
Is that what you were hoping for?
No, there's just some info about the song.
Okay, cool.
And then, like, of course, we all know what I'm Just Ken is. But, okay, I want to talk about The Fire Inside for 2 reasons. Number one,
Flamin' Hot, what is it?
it is a fictionalization
Okay.
about the guy who invented Flaming Hot Cheetos. And I'm putting
interesting.
air quotes around it because Frito-Lay has come out and said a lot of people were involved in the making of the Flaming Hot flavors, including this person whose name I don't remember.
Oh.
Yeah, the story is like he's like a janitor. He works in, I think, the Bakersfield factory, but he has like a gang background. He's trying to like get out of the gang life, but his wife is pregnant. He needs to make money, so he ends up getting this job. And then the economy's going south, and he's like, how come I don't ever see any of the flavors of like my people? Hey, we should come up with something that my people will want to buy. They test all the different flavors and they kind of come up with something that's going to work. And then somehow he gets in touch with the CEO and convinces the CEO to test out his flavor. They love it, and gets made like director of multicultural marketing and outreach or something. And so the person the movie is based on was actually like the marketing director for Frito-Lay for like a really long time.
I'm sure my dad has seen this movie and loves it. Everything you just said
Really?
is like his favorite kind of story.
So it's like a little bit after school special earnest and like a little bit weird and funny.
Okay.
If you were looking for a relief in your Oscar viewing, this is a great one to watch as a break. It's perfectly family friendly. It's also Eva Longoria's directorial debut.
Oh, I like her.
And I love that it's like a Latino story with Latino actors, filmed by a Latino, like directed by a Latino. I don't know anything about the song except when I was going to make my little Oscars spreadsheet and I was deleting things from last year and pasting things in from this year. I was like, Diane Warren, she's here from last year. And I feel like every year
She's
this woman
always
is
there.
nominated for
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
And so I looked her up. Her first nomination was in 1987 for Mannequin's Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now. And then she was nominated in 96, 97, 98, 99. She took a year off, and then she was nominated in 2001. And then she had this big long break. But since 2014, there's only been 1 year that she has not been nominated.
Wow.
She's been nominated so many times, and they're always songs where you don't know anything about that movie.
Except
no
the-
one's ever
yeah.
seen it. It's only nominated for the song. In 2022, she was given an honorary award, but she's never won.
Wow.
She has an Emmy, a Critics' Choice Award, a couple of Golden Globes, including
She's
one
an
for
EGOT,
Burlesque.
man. Oh, really?
Yeah, she's got like a ton of ASCAP awards. She wrote If You Could Turn Back Time. She wrote I Don't Want to Miss a Thing for
That's the
Aerosmith.
one I feel like people know her from the most.
One thing I love is that she wrote a song for the movie Con Air, and like that got nominated. It just like really cracks me up. So when I say she is nominated for films, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway,
It's like any old movie.
Yeah, just
He's
like-
not pigeonholed into a genre at all.
no. So anyway, I just was like, Diane Warren again. And then also it's for this like classically on point for Diane Warren or on brand. It's like a film that no one watched or heard anything about. So anyway, that kind of made me happy. But I think it's going to be between I'm Just Ken and What Was I Made For?
I wonder if they might give it to Wajaji because they did give it to Natu Natu last year. Especially because that's kind of one of the only things about Killers of the Flower Moon that is like directly from the Osage people. I don't know. I kind of hope that it'll go that way for that reason.
Yeah, I mean,
but I think it probably will be What Was I Made For? Because, like, joke songs don't really... Even though I'm just kind of, like, just really like the way it mixes the genres and everything, and it's a banger. But I think they tend to go for the ballads.
Yeah.
Everybody loved the visuals for What Was I Made For in the movie. Everyone went gaga for that.
I just can't get over she's going to be a 2-time Oscar winner and she's like 22.
Good for her.
I mean,
That's great. I mean, she's
it's
undeniably
great,
talented,
but I mean, like, she has the industry behind her for sure.
Yeah.
It's a great song. I mean,
it is.
She's great. It's
I
just
think
amazing.
It's far
like,
from the best song she's ever written, but I'm glad, I'm happy for any success she gets.
It's not the one that like people are like singing in the shower or in the car or like that I'm Just Ken song is undeniably catchy. Like you said, it's a banger.
And he had a Christmas version.
That was so silly. And also they asked if he was going to perform it at the Oscars and he was like, I don't know, maybe if I'm nominated, I will. And so I'm like, is this vote really because people want him to perform it live at the Oscars? Because I'm living for that now. Yeah, the Wajaji song is the surprise for me because it kind of came out of nowhere on the like the list of the different odds. It was like 11th. So it was just like way down there. One song that didn't get nominated that I think was expected was Road to Freedom, which is from the movie Rustin and was written by Lenny Kravitz. And it's like third in the odds. So it was definitely
yeah, because he got nominated for the Golden Globe. I remember he was there. Yeah, that's surprising he's not on there.
Yeah, so there was like a surprise and then there was like a snub, but in the end I think it is probably going to be What Was I Made For? And I'm not mad at that.
Yeah. I'm definitely interested to see how those performances will shake out. It's like really weird that they haven't announced anything else about it.
Right.
About who's going to be there other than Jimmy Kimmel. Like,
They're probably still negotiating behind the scenes and stuff.
Usually, like at this time, they've got some stuff out.
Like somebody that's like got a movie coming out or something, or there's a couple in a movie and they'll have them like present something or whatever. Something like that.
Maybe they're just still waiting to hear back from people. They're like, we put out a bunch of casts and...
Everyone's like, we're super busy working now that the strike's over.
I know, that's what I was going to say. Everyone's like super busy.
Maybe that's what it is.
I feel like the strike probably is affecting it in some way.
Because maybe they would have normally had these conversations back then when the strike was happening. They couldn't talk.
That's true.
And also everyone's like PR junkets got all messed up because the timing of when you could do stuff.
I read that a lot of the movies that got nominated came out earlier in the year, like in the summer, and something I was reading, like Color Purple came out in December. And like,
Christmas.
That used to be the time to release a movie to be in the Oscars. Maybe because of the strike, I don't know exactly. Summer movies were nominated more.
Yeah.
And like All of Us Strangers came out pretty late in the year too, didn't it?
Yeah.
So I wonder if that affected it.
Yeah, I checked and it was definitely still within the realm of eligibility.
Right. Just maybe not enough people had seen it?
I don't know. Everything I've heard about the sex scene and like I've heard so many gay men be like, it's just so nice to see such a realistic love scene on screen and we've never seen anything. I feel like that was it. The powers that be were like, ew. I don't need to see that.
In the name of spoilers, is there any violence? Like, are these...
No.
So that's talking about that. What kinds of stories?
Okay, I don't want to say too much, but like, there's not violence in the
there's
way
no gay
that you're
bashing.
thinking of. So that's probably also part of it. They're like, there's not enough suffering for us here. That's specifically gay.
Yeah.
There's definitely a lot of suffering, but it's more universal parent suffering than gay suffering. So they don't like that.
Well, that's why it didn't get nominated because they only like one kind of story for gay people.
So fucking true.
So this is what's called a lunchtime poll.
To finish, I was just wondering, I know I'm just springing this on everyone because I just thought of it myself, but what's like the thing you're most excited about at the Oscars at this point in time?
I mean, I want to see what everybody's wearing. That's still like a fun reason why I like to tune in. I mean, I have to say I get really disappointed by the Oscars a lot, but but that's something that never disappoints me. So I like that.
I gotta say, I feel like the Oscars is maybe like one of my biggest problematic faves. Like, I love it so much, but it is also so disappointing.
It is really disappointing.
If I felt guilty about any pleasure, I would say this was a guilty pleasure. But
you shouldn't feel guilty about pleasure. I totally let's definitely go on the record about that.
I mean, I guess I'm actually going to be away during the Oscars. I'm going to be in Mexico, so I'm actually pretty excited for that. I didn't think about it though. I know.
Were you gonna be able to see it? Or are you
I don't know.
not even try?
You're gonna be like,
care about it.
it's like 80 degrees, perfectly sunny, but I'm gonna sit in my dark hotel room.
Being like, my TV will record it.
That's
I mean, I
nice.
didn't think about it when I made those plans. Probably still
Of
would have
course.
gone when we were going, but if I was watching it live, I think I would be most excited to see the I'm Just Ken performance if he does it. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's pretty funny.
Awesome.
Same. Actually, same on both. Every year I have this like negotiation I do with my friend Stephanie because I always go to her house. We have our Mostly Silent Oscars party and I have to negotiate because I want to watch literally the entire red carpet. I just want
I
to
love
roll
the red
out of
carpet.
bed into my
Yes.
pajamas, get a mimosa and like park my ass on the couch at like noon and watch all 5 hours of like red carpet or whatever it is. But she's always like got a life. Has stuff she's got to do. She's like, you can come over at 3 and then I'm like, no, what is 3 hours that I'm missing? But also I'm really excited about the I'm Just Ken performance. I really hope it happens.
I think
So.
it'll happen.
They don't want to make that We Don't Talk About Bruno mistake again.
What happened then?
Oh, well, because they didn't nominate it, right? They nominated the other song from Encanto, and they didn't nominate We Don't Talk About Bruno, but then they like shoehorned We Don't Talk About Bruno in during like one of the breaks, and like the people were like performing and going through the audience and stuff. So anyway.
Right. Because of all the uproar, I think.
Yes, because
that's
people were like,
the
you
popular
goofed.
one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Disney just gambled, right? Because doesn't it have to be like put forward as like, please consider this? And then like they didn't put it forward to
like
please
for your
consider it.
consideration.
Yeah, they didn't.
Oh.
They picked the
And then
other
it ended up
song.
being like so popular. They were like, what? Let's
Yeah.
fuck
Yeah.
that up. Yeah.
Oopsies.
I love the red carpet too. Like I always try to watch that as early as I can, but unfortunately I have obligations. So usually I can't tune in until about 3, but I fucking live for that. I live for like people saying shady stuff on the red carpet. I live for seeing who brought their mom. I always love that.
Or fake dictator ashes. Or like
Like the
Yeah.
crazy quote.
what's his face? Oh my god, the
Sacha
dictator.
Baron Cohen.
Yes, do you remember when he accidentally spilled ashes on
Yeah.
Ryan
I
Seacrest?
love that.
Oh my god.
There's always something.
I don't know if I saw that. Wow.
Ryan Seacrest did not think it was funny.
Oh.
It's like,
Oh yeah,
Does not have a sense of humor.
Fuck off. But then also anytime Florence Pugh will definitely be there, I'm always happy, and she will definitely be there.
yay.
So yay.
Oh. Supporting
Ooh.
Oppenheimer.
Maybe
Well, she
she'll
didn't
give an
get nominated for
award.
anything, but like when the
maybe
movie
she'll be a
is
presenter.
nominated, like everyone in the cast gets to go. Like the best picture, she can be there, and she will be there. She's been like doing a lot of award stuff lately. It's a really exciting time for Florence Pugh because Dune 2, she's doing so much press for that, and it's amazing.
Like, it's an exciting time for
How
Florence.
did you
Pugh
feel
fans.
about her hair at the Golden Globes?
I love her hair all the time. I love her hair. I feel like she could pull off any hair. And I know that there are people that are like, we love long hair Florence Pugh, we don't like short hair.
Well, she
Don't
did
like
like
the
some
spiky-
weird hair thing.
The spiky hair?
Maybe I'm thinking of a different award show.
The Met
for this.
Gala or the.
I don't know.
I'm
It was some
Googling.
That's where she.
recent thing.
Had shaved
I
her
thought
head,
it
I
was
thought.
Golden Globes.
Oh yeah, she kind of has like the ducktail.
Oh, the rockabilly look?
Yeah.
I liked that a lot.
This one?
Yes.
Oh, I love that look. Oh my god, I love it so
Oh.
much. That's one of my favorites. I think it's so
girl.
hot.
You would think anything was so high. You're like,
she could do that's not.
she
Not
can
so
do
far.
no wrong.
I'll let you know.
I don't like
It is kind of rockabilly. That's a Brian Setzer hair.
It totally is Brian Setzer's hair. Literally, like, boop. That's so
It looks
funny.
better on her.
It does. It's true. It's true.
How very.
Who else is on here? I am having a hard time with Guardians of the Galaxy because all my friends are like, too much animal cruelty and I couldn't watch it.
Guardians
Oh
of
yeah,
the
that movie like
Yeah.
traumatized my son.
Yeah, it's traumatizing. It's the story of like
Volume
Rocket
3.
Raccoon.
Okay.
So
I
it's
didn't,
like,
I didn't know that one.
it's nominated best visual effects. So all I have left now are movies that I'm avoiding or like the shorts and the documentaries.
Yeah.
And I try to like save the animated ones to give me like a spoonful of sugar to make the medicine go down.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, nice. Yeah.
But yeah, this weekend I'll probably go do the animated shorts and the live action shorts. I usually try to do those as a double feature, but I don't think I can this year. And then all the international feature films, a lot of them are starting to come out now in theaters. Like,
Oh yeah, I really want to see Perfect Days.
that might be
I
at
think
SIFF
that's
starting
coming
this
soon.
weekend.
Yeah, that's coming pretty
Yeah.
soon.
And Society of the Snow, that would get my vote for makeup. I don't think like horror makeup gets enough credit. And I mean, this
horror
is, you know,
in general doesn't get nearly enough
yeah,
credit.
it's like the Chilean soccer team crashing in the Andes, and there's like bruises and cuts and contusions and gangrene and people vomiting, and it was very realistic. I don't think it'll get credit because the Academy won't give it the credit it's due, but that's my pick. I think it should win. I also really liked that movie.
My cat and my dog are about to...
I mean, are they really fighting? No, there's tail wagging going on.
Well, yeah, he wants to be friends, and Jinx will not be friends with anybody.
It's like classic. A tale as old as time.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Denise.
I'm always so excited to come and join you, and I look forward to it for like weeks and weeks and weeks.
If you enjoyed this episode of Paid in Puke, please take a minute to give us 5 stars on your preferred podcast app. If you did not enjoy it, no further action is necessary. Paid in Puke is hosted by Jessica Baxter, Amy Green, and Christina Barr. Follow us on Twitter at PaidInPukePod, on Blue Sky at PaidInPukePod, on Instagram at PaidInPukeSeattle, and on Facebook at Paid in Puke Podcast. Paid in Puke is produced and edited by Divine Betty Media. Music by Silent Partner and Jessica Baxter. Thanks for listening. You're beautiful.
Lick it up, baby. Lick it